The Thinking Tackle Podcast.
Welcome to the Thinking Tackle Podcast. Joining me today in the studio is Brett White. Now, Brett's a Kent-based angler. He's caught some of the country's best loved carp. Back in 2002, within months of each other, he caught both the long common and the then biggest carp in the country, two-tone at over 60 pounds from Conningbrok. Following this, he went on to fish arguably the country's premier big fish water at the time, Harrow Waltonians, where once again his success continued. Now, Brett likes to spend as much time as possible fishing on the River Ebro in Spain, where he's got a second home. Now, as you can imagine, his knowledge is second to none, having caught catfish to over 200 pounds and some of the hardest fighting carp you're going to catch anywhere. But above all else, Brett isn't just a carp angler, he's a fighter and a positive example to all of us. Hope you enjoy the show. Okay, Brett White, we're live. Welcome to the podcast.
We're here.
You've been watching these shows?
Yeah, I like them. It's it's good fun.
Podcasting and carp fishing now, it's all hand in hand a little bit now, isn't it?
It's all part of it. Whiles away the boredom, doesn't it?
It does. We're probably guilty of. There's probably too much, but like I say, there's so much information that we can share out there now. So, yeah, all good stuff.
Yeah.
Brett, at the start of the show, we always ask for a nice gift.
So I started to take a few of these home, Brett, so we need to keep it topped up.
It's a bit of clutter here, I tell you.
Yeah, if anyone's listening, there is a lot of clutter, and we want to move this somewhere else.
Bad boots out.
If you saw that in someone's boot, you'd be like, "No, you're right, mate." Actually,
yeah.
all the old soot that you don't want.
Yeah, I mean, it does look a little bit like that, although it has got it's got quite a lot of significance. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Sure, it has.
I'm going to see it now. Yeah. Bad boot sale.
So I've bought this.
You've been waiting to demonstrate this as well.
This is 30 odd years old, and it stems from when I was fishing a very small lake down in Sevenoaks. And you know when you get the mallards when they have the babies and they get to that month or so old and they can dive and they drive you absolutely mad. Mum and Dad can't do it, but once the baby's got on you, that's it. So I'm thinking, these are driving me mad. They're wiping me out. They're scaring the fish. So I thought, if I get a duck call, I'll imitate the distress call from the mother, see what happens. It worked a treat, honestly. I'm telling you.
So that's better than any laser pen or anything.
This is like an antique laser pen.
Yeah. And
I've had it ever since, and I've had it on other lakes when I've had trouble with them. It's always like my little backup, because it only works with the little mallards.
And so coots and all that, they just carry it.
No.
Yeah.
It's just for mallards.
Right.
It's just that, and that's it, and they shoot off.
Never see them again.
Yeah, you see them later and you just give them another blast.
That's it. I'll tell you what we said, didn't we? That there'd be tackle companies now, maybe Korda, that'd be bringing stuff out like that.
Yeah, you'll have it written down the side.
You've got
there.
The prototype right there.
Yeah. get green ones.
That's it.
Oh, it'd be green and it have the glasses and the logo and everything. But yeah.
Yeah, so that is a good 30 years old.
Yeah.
So you've got to take good care of it.
We'll look after that. Have you got a spare one? Because I guess you use those regularly, don't you?
No, I haven't. So
he's rethinking his gift now. Actually,
it's pretty emotional.
We'll make one for you.
It's
Brett.
pretty emotional as it happens. So where should I put it?
Well, you just put it down there for now. Yeah. And it's
I'll put it with Maddox, shall I?
Yeah, on top of that. Yeah, carp fever. Yeah.
Bless him.
Yeah. Brett, I mean, you've been carp fishing for years, and you're you keep yourself to yourself when you're fishing to a certain degree, I guess, as well, don't you?
I'm pretty.
Off the back of that, I've actually got I think a friend of Brett's has sent us a very special video in for him that he's actually not aware of.
What's this then, Joe?
We've sprung this upon him with
I'm
going to build it up because I know that he's going to be feeling it.
And I think a few people will be a little bit familiar with this. There
you go. I popped it on screen for you, Brett.
Do you recognise this guy? Yeah?
There he is, bless him.
Who's this?
My old mate, Kevin Ellis.
Yeah.
Looking at it in his finest.
Right, listen to this.
I'm away in France, thinking of you and your podcast. About time you did one and shared with everyone your experiences. But this feels a bit like this is your life, right? I can't be in the studio, so I'm dialing in. There's one thing I need to know in front of everyone, and now you can't avoid the question, because every time I've asked you, and we've been the bestest of mates for 30 odd years, you've always avoided the answer. So now I'm putting you on the spot. And the line can't go crackly, and you can't just change the subject. What bait and rigs have helped you be so successful with this fishing lark? Yeah, so I ain't going to ask for the 150th time. This is the last time. What is your secret rigs and bait?
Every time I get this from him.
Do you?
He's really put you on the spot.
And you always get a crackly line, do you?
Yeah, always swerve him. Because he's a nightmare. I mean, you've seen his videos, haven't you?
I love it. I absolutely love them.
Every time someone catches a fish, he's in there. Where's your rig? How did you do it?
And the camera's always in the face, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what did you say as well about Kevin as well? If you went fishing with him, because you were talking about he's going up to Rainbow in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
But if you go fishing with him, you end up...
Oh, it's just like... I don't know how he does it, but he just manipulates the situation. He'll get his camera and he'll be right, what I'll do is, you unload the car, take it to the swim and I'll video us, so, setting up and everything. So you go, all right, but then you realise you're carrying all his gear for him. And he's just standing there with a camera. And that's what he does. And you do it without realising. You go, hang on a minute, I've got all your fucking gear here.
He's a very successful businessman, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's learned how to delegate very, very well.
Oh, he's ruthless.
Brett, I have got to ask though, you can't swerve Kevin this time,
he's not
I'm afraid,
gonna
mate.
swerve him this time.
Have you got an answer for him?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like it's very basic. I've got a very simple basic rig, and it's
Is the line breaking up?
Hang on, one.
Yeah.
And then it's like a size 8, that long, and that's it.
There you go, everyone.
So
straight from the.
Yeah, it's all there in a nutshell.
That's it. Don't get much more clear than that. Kevin, I hope you're happy, mate. There's your answer.
Oh, by the way, he's got another 6 months ban from. I didn't tell you he's banned from my house in Spain from fishing in Mech.
Why is this?
Because this goes back. This goes back about 8 years when he went out there, and he never cleaned the house when he left. I said to him, "Don't matter who you are, you got to respect my house." So when I've gone out there next, it was rotten. He maintains it was just a drip on the shower screen, but it didn't even look like a drip.
So yeah. Well, you're listening to this, Kevin. Yeah, you need to get back and
we're gonna have to get him back on to it's Telly's side of the story.
Yeah.
Well, so he got a yellow card for that, and then about 6 months later, he was out there with a friend of mine, and they caught a big mirror. So he showed me the video of this mirror. But in the water behind them, about 6 inches underwater, was my brand new set of Rubins. Underwater. I went mad. I went, that's it, Kev, you got a red, mate. So he was banned for a year. But then every time he whinged about it, I stuck another year on it. So now I think he's going to go out there. I think it's going to be about his 98th birthday. He can go.
Well, there you are, so there's a picture of Brett's place there as well.
That's it, Casa Whitey.
Yeah, brilliant, Brett.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's my bit of sanctuary.
I've actually stayed there, Si.
You said this,
yeah.
We went there years ago with Damo, didn't you?
Yeah, Dad and Wendy took us out there for a trip. We went catfishing on the Ebro, mate. It was unreal. Like, I wasn't big into my fishing back then, but it was like, yeah, what a place.
Oh,
And the fish. Actually, the phone call, Brett, before I told you it was a £90 catfish I caught, he quite gladly reminded me that it was £70.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I
was like,
just £20 off it.
Get that right.
That's it, yeah. You watch the picture, it'll come in and be like this.
That's not bad though, is it? A 70 pounder.
No, mate, honestly, it was still bigger than me.
Yeah.
He reminded me actually about the story. I forgot about this. I told Brett beforehand, I was trying to figure out how old I was. I was like, I didn't have glasses on, so I must have been whatever age. Dad reminded me I did have glasses on, but as we pulled this thing out the water, it knocked my glasses into the river. So I'm holding this catfish, I can't see it, and I'm trying to feed my glasses with my toes, going, don't lose them.
Well, the thing is, when how old was you then?
Must have been, I reckon, 12.
That's what I mean. The £70 cat's a big fish.
I mean, bigger than I was. Pulled this thing out the water.
It's like 6 foot long.
And the rest of it was still in the water. Yeah, it was incredible. And then Dad had one. We were saying it was about he tells me it's about £150.
Yeah,
he said it was, but this thing was just on the bank. We had to pull it on, and mate, I'd never seen anything like it. It was an absolute monster.
Yeah, they're prehistoric, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was saying, imagine like you're in there and that thing swim past you, mate. You wouldn't.
Actually, have we got any video of Terry Dempsey on their tope.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm surprised that Damo didn't catch the biggest one in the river like first cast.
Normally
actually.
does, doesn't he? He must have been having an off day.
Yeah, he must have been gutted about that. But yeah, no, if you've got some footage there, Tobe, we've got a video of Terry Dempsey on his first.
I think that was his second trip out there with me.
The first catfish he
It
caught.
was his first catfish.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is outrageous. Bearing in mind this is on a 10-foot carp rod and 15-pound line.
We are, boys.
This was it.
Finally got it in. Lift his head up, Tel.
You no chance.
Jeez.
Got no chance.
Get under them pegs again.
Look at the size of it.
The head is as big as his chest. It's like a telegraph pole all the way down. Look at it.
Can't
even lift it.
No way.
Look at the size of this.
Excuse the language.
Yeah, but it's obscene.
To be fair, I mean, that's fitting language. Look at it.
What else can you say? It is.
Oh, mate,
Yeah.
getting back.
How long did it take him to land that?
That took him about an hour.
Right. Did you know straight away? I mean, if they hook one of those, so you reckon that's a good 200 pound?
Yeah, where we're fishing there, you've probably got about half a kilometre all the way around the boat.
So we're looking at the screen now. So what are you like halfway across the river there?
You're in the middle of the junction there. It's where the Segre meets the Ebro, and it's a great fish holding area certain times of year, but it's like sea fishing for carp. It's when the wind gets up, it gets a bit naughty out there, but it can be absolutely magic out there. So we're fishing 10-foot rods, 15-pound line, and that was on a size 4 wide gape X.
There you go.
Probably the biggest fish ever caught on a Korda hook.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Yeah.
And the thing is with them cats, when you first hook them, because it's on such light gear, I'm sure they don't realise they're hooked, and you're sort of thinking, oh, this might be a carp or whatever, but then all of a sudden it will just the rod will just keep going on round, and that's it. You're backwinding, then you know you've
It's
hooked
amazing
one of
that you
these.
can land a fish like that in an hour, actually. Because I mean, we see with those lakes in Thailand and stuff. I mean, Davy had a fish on for literally like a whole evening. I mean, if a fish like that decided to not.
Well, yeah,
comply,
I mean, sometimes you just have to up anchor and follow them, or a lot of people will just point a rod at them and pull for a break. But it's like being anglers, you like the challenge, don't you? Like gear. Wouldn't it be great to try and get this in? Yeah. And as I say, he had it on for an hour, and it absolutely battered him. And a couple of times he tried to give me the rod because his arms were gone. I went, no, Tel, this is yours, mate. I was trying to motivate him because I knew if I get that rod, if he don't take it back off me, I'm in for the same.
Yeah.
And I knew because I'd had plenty of cats.
Yeah.
But even to this day, I mean, that was 5-6 years ago. If you speak to Tel, he'll tell you his arm still hurts. But at one stage, I could see the silver on the spool. He probably had about 10 yards left on his spool.
Do you follow it?
I was just about to up anchor so we could chase it down, and it just stopped and came back up the river. And he got about 100 yards back on his reel. It was just, what are the chances?
Yeah.
And then what you have to do is you grab it by the bottom jaw. But you need to grab it firm because they can spin and they can actually break your wrist when they're that size. So you kneel down, grab it by the jaw, and just push yourself up and bring it in the boat. Once the belly comes over, the rest of it follows.
Sink the boat, wouldn't it?
So now we've got this great big slug in the boat, and they're so slimy, it's like wallpaper paste.
Yeah.
And it gets everywhere. So we've got it, it's like madness. But now the hardest part was getting it out the boat. So we're kneeling either side of it. So I'm lifting one side, he's lifting the other side. And we're struggling. I'm like, have you got it? He's, yeah, of course I fucking got it. Have you got it? I'm like, yeah. It's like, to me, to you, to me, to you. So you got to get the head up on the top, and then try and pick the belly up, bring that up, and just shuffle it out of the boat. But once the belly goes over, the rest of it follows.
Does it? Yeah.
But it was madness.
Crazy fish. We'll get into the Ebro stuff a little bit later as well. Actually, while Kevin Ellis was just on there, I mean, like friendships and stuff. Who were the sort of guys that you were? How did you meet Kevin and all that sort of gang? Because I know doesn't Kevin always talk about like the Essex boys and the Kent boys? So
I've got a lot of good Essex mates, and we used to have such a great time. I mean, you're going back to. I probably met Kev at one of the old Carp Society shows. You know, when you used to have the monthly like Essex Carp Society, Kent and all that, and you'd have your monthly meetings or whatever, and it was great then because you would look forward to those in the close season, those Carp Society meetings. You'd see people you ain't seen all year, and I got to know Kev really well. I'd go over there, And that's where I met Jimmy Burns, which was a major influence for me, because Jim's like a legend. You know, it's just like, yeah, when you speak to Jim doesn't really give a lot away. When you sit and chat to him, he's phenomenal. He knows bait inside out, and the fish he's caught over the years is just phenomenal. And I can remember once I went over there, and it's when Rob Malin had caught his 30th English 30, and it was like, wow, he's had 30 English 30s. So I've gone round to Jim, so I went, God, you see that? Like, Rob Malin, 30 English 30s. He went, yeah. He said, it's impressive. He said, I'd done that 2 years ago.
Yeah, right.
But you would never know, and
Yeah.
like you'd have to coax him into getting his photo album out, and you'd have photos falling out of like 35 pounders. You go, Jim, what's this? He'd be like, I don't know. He's just like he was just an angler. He just wanted to catch carp. But yeah, phenomenal.
And you're similar to that as well, aren't you? You kind of, you keep your fishing to yourself a little bit as well, I guess. I mean, is that just, to protect your own fishing, or you're just not the sort of guy that really likes shouting out too much about what you're catching?
It's always nice. It's lovely to share fish with people, but sometimes you've got to protect your own fishing. You know, if you're like me, I've very, very limited time. So I'll go once a week. So, but in the meantime, you're baiting up spots and trying to get your own little edges. So you don't really want to be sharing it with everyone, because then they're taking notice of you.
But you're a social guy as well. I can see that. I mean, we've built up, we haven't known each other that long, and we've built up a nice rapport with each other. So that must be hard as well to turn up on a lake sometimes and, have to keep yourself to yourself a little bit.
Yeah, and it's a juggling act, really. How much do you give away at the cost of your own fishing, really? Because obviously people talk, and it's like, oh, he's having it off. He's like, he's doing all right, and all of a sudden people are taking notice of you. Whereas if you don't say anything, you just slip under the radar.
I mean, as Kev wanted to know a little bit about your angling approach. So what style of angler are you? You don't do long sessions.
Never have done. I struggle to do nights. I've always struggled to sleep down the lakes, because I just get too excited, basically. Yeah. So I much prefer fishing days, and it's even like the night before I'm going for a day, I'll struggle to sleep, just because you just get so excited, because it'll be like a week in between sessions, and so you're just buzzing for it. And I think the day I get a good night's sleep before I go fishing, it'll be the time to pack it in. Yeah,
you'll be blanking then, will you, if you get a good night's sleep? It's like, are you preparing spots and stuff on before you're getting down there?
Yeah, I'll try and get down a couple of times midweek, normally sort of after dark, because obviously you don't want people to see where you're baiting or whatever. And that's what you got to do when you're fishing like days once a week. You got to give yourself the best opportunity. So you've got to put the effort in to prep spots. Otherwise, you're making it hard work. You can't just turn up and hope to see fish or hope you're going to drop on them. So you just get a few areas going.
You don't seem to be an advocate of like heavy baiting either.
No, I just like to get little areas going and get the fish on the bait. That's the main thing. It's like when I pack up fishing at the end of a session, whatever bait I've got left, I'll feed the fish with that. Even if I have to walk all the way around the other side of the lake to an out of bounds, to a snag, I'll just throw in a few handfuls. And I know they're eating it. Rather than just throw it out in the lake and hope they'll eat it and the ducks won't get it, I'll try and find the fish and give it to them, knowing that once they get out in the lake, if they're going to come across it, they're going to feel a bit more confident going down what I've put in than...
How much of a certain bait do you think they need, in those sort of areas to really get tuned into a certain bait?
Well, it's got to be decent quality, obviously.
Yeah.
And just regular.
Have you always found that quality catches you more fish?
In the long term, it does, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And, you think... You think as well possibly that you need to use more, more bait to catch more fish, but you don't necessarily see it like that.
No, because you can go around the lake slinging kilos of bait in, and the fish might never even eat it.
Yeah.
The ducks will get most of it. What's the point? I'd rather put in half a kilo, knowing the fish are going to eat it, than go around spreading 10 kilos.
Yeah, yeah. And do you find as well, if you're fishing, because you'll move around the lake and stuff like that, do you find that, you know, if you've not had a bite within an hour or so, actually you're probably going to probably move on to the next area?
I've always got itchy feet.
Yeah.
I can never sit still for 10 minutes.
But is that because you know is
You like to think you got it right. Listen, it's fishing, and they'll forever changing the rules. So yeah, you'll be confident of, obviously once you get a spot going, you know if the weather's right, you know that they're going to be back.
Yeah.
You can pretty much get it right, but then you've got to always think one step ahead, and I'll be prepping up other spots, because obviously nothing lasts forever. You might get a few weeks out of a spot, and then they'll be elsewhere. So if you just try and stay one step ahead and just trickle it into another few areas, then it just carries on.
Are you so you're on the lake early generally as well?
Yeah, I'm always there before light.
Yeah.
Before it gets light, and even once I know I've got a spot rocking, this is how anal I get sometimes. I'll be in my garden the day before, wrapping my rods up, walking down the garden and clipping them up.
It's brilliant.
So, yeah, and my neighbours will be looking out the window like,
they must know you by now, Brett.
he's got his rod out in the garden again. What's he up to?
Yeah.
And so I'll get there before it gets light, and I'll just flick them out. As long as obviously you got your sight line, I'll flick them out. They're already clipped up.
Yeah.
I've got it all written down in my little black book. Everyone wants my little black book. And
Yeah, have you brought it with you?
No chance.
We're disappointed too with that, aren't we?
I think Kev's going to be after it now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, Kevin, Johnny Miller and all. Johnny Miller wants me to leave it to him in my will.
Oh, right.
He's like, I want that black book.
Oh, so it's quite well known, this black book.
They all try and look in the black book. But yeah, so I'll have all my little wraps and distances. I mean, before wrap sticks, I used to just pace it out down the bank and write the paces down. But yeah, so that's another little edge, because you're just saving time. You're not disturbing the water. I may go down the night before, put a bit of bait in, so then I'm there before it gets light. Rods are already wrapped up, marked up. Just flick them out, minimal disturbance.
So when a spot's rocking, are you introducing more bait then, or are you changing anything then, or are you just?
Yeah. There's no need to saturate it. And
Are you surprised that you don't see too many people fishing like that?
they're probably not as intense as me around it.
I've seen people like that fish like you do, and they're very, very successful. But it also takes an awful lot of energy. And
It's all about effort.
Yeah.
It's that simple, and it is the old adage, which it's effort equals reward. You know, I mean, it's obviously we know about location, but again, it's effort to find them.
Yeah.
So it's all about effort and how much effort you want to put in. I mean, I'll sit on a lake, and without sounding blasé, I can see why I'm catching, because you look around and people are still in their bivvies asleep at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm watching fish rolling in front of them or in other areas. They'll get up, stretch, cup of tea, and they might see some fish, but they just can't be bothered to move because they've brought the whole world with them.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't like that.
No, because
No.
I might move 4 or 5 times in a day.
Yeah.
You know, even if I've got one of those spots primed up, clipped up, and I'm on it, if I see fish elsewhere, even though I've baited up with everything on those spots, I'll still get up and move. I won't think, well, no, I've put my bait in it, I'll stick to it. You know, you got the fish dictate to you what you do.
Do you know what? That's a common theme on this show, isn't it? From top anglers, is don't be afraid to move.
No,
everybody says it. Even my old man's always said, you've got to be where the fish are.
Yeah.
That was the first thing he used to say to me when I was going.
Yeah.
Daryl's the same. Daryl's like moves all the time, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. But I also know people that will move just for the sake of moving. So I mean, there is.
Where's the balance then? Where's the line on that?
Well, I would imagine with you, I mean, you've already got spots baited anyway. So if you're seeing fish showing on a different part of the lake, you know, you're moving for that purpose.
You've got to make a decision.
Yeah.
Even though you might have put half your bait in, it's like, well, you always keep a bit of bait back, just in case.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do. Or you could sit there and keep your fingers crossed, but times out of 10, the fish will prove you wrong. You think, fuck it, I know I should have moved.
I think the difference is, Tobes, people like Brett, Brett's not chasing shadows. A lot of people, also a good majority of people, would be possibly chasing shadows, moving for the sake of moving, more on a hunch rather than actually.
Well, that's what I was trying to get across. Like, because I imagine that's what most people will be asking. Like, when is the right time to move, and what are the clear signs to look for?
That's just down to your own intuition and judgment.
Do you find that as well with a spot, though, generally speaking, that after an hour or so, couple of hours, I know a guy that used to fish on our lake, he was a fantastic margin angler, and he would watch fish picking up rigs and stuff like that, and he said if they've picked it up straight away and then they've dropped it, he said a lot of the time they won't go back, they won't come straight back on that spot or on that rig, or they'll leave it alone for a while. Do you find that as well, or?
Again, it depends on how confident you are of what you're putting in and how hard the fish are feeding. If you've only got 1 or 2 fish, then yeah, but if you've got a group of fish, it's competition, isn't it? So they're just going to go down and pick it up. And obviously the main important thing is to have a rig that resets.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what it is
No.
because Kevin's listening. I'll show you afterwards.
You showed me last week, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that rig, I mean, I could sit there.
I know what rig it is, Kevin.
Yeah, that's
He's
it.
squirming right now, isn't he? He's like,
He'll be like, bastard.
I've only known you 5 minutes. Didn't take 35 years, did it?
Yeah, but you did have to sign a confidentiality agreement, yeah.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah. We better get onto your fishing as well, because I know the old man wants to hear a little bit about.
I've had strict orders, Brett. He wants some stories out of you.
Is it? I mean, you sent us a picture of Cotton Farm. You're back in the really early days. Is that pretty much right back at the start for you?
Yeah, so that was when I left school. I worked for London Transport as a bus mechanic, trainee bus mechanic, and I wound up at Bexleyheath Garage. And Cotton Farm then was a massive big windswept pit, and there was like a 25-man syndicate on there, and about 5 or 6 of them worked at Bexleyheath Garage. So I've gone there, and they're like, "Oh, we get you a ticket for Cotton Farm." And one of the mechanics there, Ernie, his boy, Terry Rowlands, who's still a massive big friend of mine. Bearing in mind then, I was 17, 40 years ago. He went, "Oh, my boy goes fishing." He said it'd be great for someone to go with. So they got me a Cotton Farm ticket, and so he's arranged for Tel. I never drove then. I just had a motorbike. So he said, "Oh, my boy will come and pick you up. Go and have a day's fishing." So Tel's come round. He's got an old Austin A40, and it's just typical of him. So he's pulled up. I've got my gear out, and just as I've gone to open the passenger door, he's tried to say, "Don't open that," but I've opened it and the doors fell off. And that pretty much started up our relationship.
We got a picture of Cotton Farm because I couldn't believe, when you sent me that shot, that it's changed
crazy.
So much.
Yeah.
So those fish, so Lee Jackson went on to run the syndicate on there.
Yeah.
He still runs it now, doesn't he?
Yeah. Unrecognisable now.
Yeah. So these were the big commons and stuff that went on to go into £40, go up to £40.
Yeah, I mean,
plus.
you had Little Brook over the road that had a load of nice big commons in as well. That they sort of went everywhere. But yeah, the Cotton Farm had a lot of wildies in it at the time. It was a difficult lake, but it was just lovely. It could be in the syndicate. You could always go down and get a swim. And
you caught your first double from there, didn't you?
yeah, I had my first double figure one.
Yeah.
£12.
Yeah.
On chickpeas, banana flavoured chickpeas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tended to be how you fished on there, was it? Chickpeas are nice and cheap. I guess,
that's it. It was early days then, so yeah, that's it there. Look at me now. I've still got my bus mechanic's overalls on.
A picture there now, yeah.
Because you can look in the background, you can see the old Dartford toll booths.
Yeah.
A big open windswept pit, and the old Optonics there. Look,
it looks a lot bigger there. How big was
it? Was a big water then. It was, I don't know, 20 acres, 25 acres perhaps. I don't know, maybe about 20 acres. But yeah, a real tricky little lake. But I used to go down after work, and that's why I've still got my overalls on.
He's still got his bus mechanic overalls on.
Covered
there,
in grease and shit.
Yeah, that doesn't matter, does it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first double.
Yeah, was it? First ever
So
double. Sorry, what year was that?
I was about 18 then, so
yeah.
I'm getting quite up.
What, you're 57 now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sort of.
You work it out. You're younger than me.
Yeah, mid to early 80s.
Yeah, something like that.
Not that much younger, are you, Si?
I'm a lot younger. Thank you very much.
So I've been 81. 1981.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But it's mad, as I say, you can see them old Dartford toll booths. When you look at it now, you would never know.
Well, you got office blocks and stuff around there now.
Yeah,
haven't
it's
you?
retail and units and all sorts.
Yeah. It looks like a big lake there as well, doesn't it? It's surprising when there's nothing around it that the size of the place.
Yeah, now you go there, it's like a garden centre, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got a fountain in it and everything.
I mean, was this a standout water at the time, or was it just somewhere convenient for
No,
you?
it was low stock. It had a few 20s in it. But say it was just a nice place to go, and you'd always have a choice of swim.
Mm.
So yeah.
But purely that. Did you go off to Australia after that? Did you say? I was on the buses. I was 6 years on the buses, and then I went to Australia for 4 months, and I resigned as soon as I got there. I had no intention. So
of
why
going
did you decide to go out there in the first place?
back. A very good friend of mine was living out there, and I'd always fancied it, and I was getting the ball ache on the buses, getting covered in grease and shit. It was a dirty job. It was a good laugh, but it was a real dirty job. So I went out there. I was only going to go for about 6-7 weeks, and I wound up staying 4 months.
Like you do, yeah. And were you intending to fish out there?
Yeah, because a friend of mine, Paul Gummer, who's one of the old school carp anglers in the old Golden Scale Club.
One of the few members of the Golden Scale Club.
Yeah, he's the one. I don't know what book of Hutches it was. He's the one with that famous picture of him swimming. Was it at Harefield with the rod out the water?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That's Paul. Yeah, so we'd kept in touch, and he was living down in Melbourne, and my mate was living in Sydney. So I said, I'm coming out to Australia. I'll fly down and have a week's fishing with you. He was like, yeah, great. And so I flew down to see him and spent a week with him, and it was great because it was like old school angling. We just fishing with wagglers and black-eyed peas and chickpeas, just fishing to bubblers on his little billabongs, and we've done a little bit on the river. But then there was one evening we was on this little billabong, and so me and Paul were sitting there catching these carp. Nothing big, a double was a big fish out there. So, and then these 3 little kids have turned up, and they've got like a 6-foot shark rod with a great big reel on it, and like 200-pound line with a big hook on the end. I don't know what they put on it, a bit of bacon or something. So me and Paul were sitting there catching these carp, and one of these kids has come over. Oh, Mr. Blimey, we're trying to catch them, but we can't. So I'm looking at them, all their lines coiled up on top of the water. So Paul's like, he said, "Come here, lads, I'll sort you out." So he's tied a length of line on. He's put a little rig on with chickpea and that. He went, "Here, go and try that." So off they've gone. And then about 20 minutes later, there's all this shouting and screaming. We've looked up, and you've got the 3 of them fighting over this rod. they got a carp on. So they're bringing it in, and Paul's going, "I've got Paul, look, they've got one." I went, "Oh, brilliant." So they're playing this fish, and Paul's got up to go and give him a hand, but before he could do that, they've actually dragged it up the rocks. One of them's got a great big tree trunk.
Oh my God.
Battered it over the head.
Oh.
Of course.
Thrown it in a carrier bag and gone, "Thanks, mister, we're taking this home to show our dad."
Oh.
I forgot.
He
yeah,
was
of course,
absolutely devastated.
In Australia, have you got to do that in Australia?
Yeah, you have, haven't you? I'm sure you have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like a pest out there.
They are, yeah. So what are they like, wild common carp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never saw a mirror. They was all commons.
Yeah.
And so back in Sydney, I was looking for somewhere to fish because I took a rod with me, and there's a park there called Centennial Park, beautiful landscape, lily pads and everything, and but obviously no fishing. So I've made an appointment to see the park manager there to try and blag, see if I could go fishing. I said, "I'm doing a survey. I'm from England,
Doing a survey
about carp,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
prolific over here." And he's like, "Yeah." He was talking to me about it. I said, "Would there be any chance that maybe I could, come and just have a few hours fishing?" And he went, "If it was up to me, yeah." He said, "But sorry, you can't." I was like gutted. So I was talking to a couple of pals out there, and they're up for anything out there because half of them are on the run from England anyway, so they're game for anything. So we've decided, well, what we do is, I said, we'll go during the day, we'll find a little spot, bait it up, and we'll just go over the fence at night and have an angle. They're like, "Yeah, we're up for that. Anything.
Did you know what was in there?
Yeah, I'd seen them during the day.
Yeah.
I'd had a few trips around there.
Decent sized
Just,
ones?
yeah, as I say, up to double figures. And there was plenty of fish in there. And I'd found a lovely little corner with an overhanging willow. I thought, we can get under there. We'll get a few fish out of there. So that was it. We made our little plan. I'd bought a net, and it was like scoping out for a bank job. We went all the way around the fences trying to find where we could get in, and we found this. There was a lamp post, and then the other side of it was a tree. So you had the like a 7 foot high fence in between the two, but you could get up the lamp post, grab the tree, and climb over. So that's what we did. We've gone over there like midnight on a little mission, the three of us. So that was it. We were skulking about, and it was like, yeah, this is great, like doing dodgy stuff. So we're walking through the park, and then you can silhouette there's all these park benches, and on one of the benches there's a geezer shagging his bird. Even better. So we're like, shh, we're right there. So we've on our hands and knees, and we've snuck up. We're sitting on a bench, just the way down from them. So we're sitting there, watching this bloke shagging his bird. Of course, when he's finished, all three of us have jumped up, clapped him. He just grabbed their and they've run off naked through the park.
Yeah, they probably weren't expecting that, were they?
Oh, it was a belter.
Yeah.
So so we've carried on, and then we've got just fishing floating crust, and I just threw it in under the willow tree, and the fish were there.
Yeah.
And it was literally 5 minutes. I've hooked my first carp, so I played it in, brilliant. So I went out at about 5 fish up to but what you had in there was these eels, biggest eels I've seen in my life.
Oh God!
They was like 20 pounders.
Oh, what the sort of eels we get over here?
I presume so, but they was like huge. But once the fish started feeding on the bread and that, the eels would come in and the carp would go. And I've hooked one of these eels. Honestly, it was. Fuck knows how big, but they was nasty, horrible things. So once the eels moved in, you had to move swim, and now and again you'll see the rangers come round, so you'd have to hide in bushes. But of course, what I'm sort of trying to suss out another area now. My two mates are getting a little bit bored, so they've got the landing net. Now they're off chasing possums around the park. These possums come out at night. They're like raccoons, and they're trying to catch them in the landing net. I'm like, for fuck's sake, keep the noise down. So they've caught a possum, and they've got these claws, and now they can't get it out of the net. So what they've wound up doing is like a Roman catapult. Two of them have got it up to there and stopped it, and this possum just gone straight through the bushes. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, what is going on here?
They enjoyed that more than the fishing, I guess.
You know,
they?
it was such a laugh.
Yeah.
And we always, you know, it's just a buzz, just there doing something you shouldn't do. And
yeah, that's what it is, isn't it?
Just as I say, the fish weren't huge, but it was just a buzz of just getting the bite, and just great times.
And those early experiences as well, isn't it? You know, getting away from this country at times and just experiencing something new. I guess that was so. That's why you stayed out there for 4 months. You just you had the time of your life.
Got into the swing of things, but then it's like, do you know what? I really needed to get back home, and I was out of work, so I'd resigned from London Transport while I was there. So I came back, ducking and diving for a couple of years, really. Then the rave scene started, and of course.
Oh, you're into all that? Everyone
got into the rave scene. I had some mates that was into it big time, organising all these underground raves. So I'd help them out, doing whatever, selling tickets and other stuff to give people a good night. So
God, I was watching James English. Do you watch his podcast too?
No.
Ever listen to those? And he had the guy, one of the London guys that was like one of the first guys to set up the rave scene, and how that stuff grew so quickly. And,
it took off majorly.
Jesus, and the organisation with that as well, because once you're everything's in cash as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got £500,000 worth, whatever, coming through in one night, and it's what you do with all the cash, and obviously.
Yeah. Well, my mates had they were the first ones to have the turbo sound system, which was like. The quality of it was unreal, and it was half the size of speakers everyone else was using. So everyone wanted to use my mates and their turbo sound system. So we was going to all these raves all over the country, you know, the ones in the fields, the illegal ones.
Massive, yeah.
And it was just the best time, because people just wanted to dance and chill and have a good night. And no one would drink. you'd be drinking cartons of Ribena and bottles of water and
Just popping a few pills.
yeah, and having you'd be buying Wrigley's chewing gums off people.
Yeah.
You never see anyone with beer or whatever.
I never really got into that scene, but my best friend from school really got into it. We were talking about it recently, actually, and he said the one thing with that is you'd never see anybody fighting because everybody was on everyone was on happy pills. So you know,
Do you know what? All the football hooliganism died out for a few years.
Everyone became happy.
Yeah, because everyone
Stop football violence.
A lot of the football firms ran these raves.
Yeah.
And it was all helping each other out, and it was just peaceful for a few years, and that's how it was. It was great. People would just go there, you just dance and have a great time.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
But then, of course, anything that good, the government get on it and go, right, you can't do that. And things started getting a little bit naughty with the police, with the raves and that. I remember one down in Portsmouth, and it wound up on the news. It kicked off big time. The police turned up and they wound up rolling the cars over, set light to a police car, and then they came back a few hours later with a riot squad, and it just went off big time. I actually got nicked trying to get away from there with one of the DJ's record cases. The old Bill pulled me out. I've got this box of records. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just going around my mate's house to listen to the show." They went, "Right, you're nicked." But of course, the next day, I was still at home then. It was all over the news about, you know, when they've done the police cars and everything, and my dad's going, "Fuck, look at that fucking scumbags, what's going on with the youth for today?" I went, "Yeah, it's terrible that," thinking,
bad bunch.
I was there. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, running away with a couple of suitcases with records in, it's like, yeah, you've implicated yourself pretty well there. Yeah.
Oh, these,
Yeah, I've just played some records. Yeah,
I'm in the middle of a field. I just found them.
Brilliant.
4 o'clock in the morning.
So when you came back, so I guess in Australia, were you looking forward to getting back and doing some fishing back in this country? Was the bug really there then?
Yeah, and that's when I joined the Seven Oaks. Yeah, and it's a fantastic group of lakes down there.
How many lakes were on the complex?
Four lakes. You got one massive lake, 70 acres. You can only fish half of. Another one about 15 acres. You had one called the Long Lake, which was. Yeah, we was intended to use that as a stock pond really, and then you had what I called the Deleney Lake. It was called the North Lake, but I called it the Deleney Lake. Mad little lake, and there was 12 fish in there.
Yeah.
All jet black.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal, and it was very, very weedy. But I actually started off on the East Lake, and yeah, I caught off. It was Chris Logsdon was running it. He was a fishing manager then, and me and Chris became real good friends. His brother Clive. Yeah, we had some great times. So Chris obviously then went on to.
We're looking at a picture now of the Deleney Lake.
That's the Deleney Lake, yeah. So on the, see those bushes on the right hand side? That's actually like a little bar, like an island with some bushes on it. So you had probably half that amount of water again on the other side, but that's it in its entirety.
How big was the lake in total? Sorry?
That bit there, I don't know, maybe an acre, half an acre, I'm not sure. But up in the left-hand corner, there was a channel, and it was about 6 foot wide and about 4 foot deep, and that ran for about, I don't know, about 60 yards to a bowl out the back, which was out of bounds. Then there was another channel which led to the end of the lake, which was another bowl which you could fish. So you had 12 fish in there. And sometimes you'd get there, and there's a bird hide on that left-hand side, so you'd have to walk round by the outer bounds. And sometimes you'd see all the 12 fish sitting out the back there.
Oh my God!
So you wouldn't even bother getting the rods out.
What would entice them to come out?
Peace and quiet. If people had been on there and disturbed them, fortunately not many people would fish it because it is what it is, and it was a very, very difficult lake, very difficult. But I'd seen pictures of some of the fish, and I was like, wow, I've got to try and catch one of these.
So you were experienced enough then to know how to sort of, because small lakes traditionally are pretty difficult anyway, aren't they? The fish are a lot more clued up generally,
I mean, I'd fished the big lake, the East Lake, and I'd actually caught a new lake record, and it was funny because it was just under 28 pounds. It was like half an ounce, and everyone was like, well, it's 28. I went, no, it's 27.15 and a half. And I've still got the trophy at home because back then it was a proper club. You'd have the annual dinner and dance, trophy presentation and all that. Right. You don't get that now. No. It was great. And so I caught this fish called the Scar. I think you got a picture of it somewhere, ain't you? It's a really old, lovely old. That's it there.
Proper warrior, that.
That is
God,
a proper
yeah.
old fish, and that went on to be about 33, 34, but it was a proper old fish. But anyone that's still fishing down there now, that area there, it's called the Spit, but completely unrecognisable as you look at it now, because it's just full of trees and everything. And we had stuff then called grass.
Yeah. It's a novelty, wasn't
So
it?
yeah, so that was a new lake record then, and which is amazing now, because now it's like the fishing there go to nearly twice that size. It's
Right.
Just but what happened a few years later, about '93, when SVC was prevalent, the club had naively bought some cheap fish, and rather than put them in the stock pond that was there, they slung them in there, and within weeks fish started going belly up, and it was absolutely tragic.
Did it wipe out most of the stock?
Yeah.
So all the lakes, the 4 lakes on the complex?
No,
or
just
one?
just that east lake, and it was just seeing those fish going belly up was just devastating. And some did survive, and there was a common there. Funny enough, I caught it when it was the first £30 common ever to come out of there.
Was it?
And that fish is still alive, and it's been about £46 now for about the last 10 years.
Wow.
It's just levelled out.
Yeah.
But that fish must be about 50 years old.
Wow, it's got some history. And
Yeah.
they were Leany strain fish in all those lakes.
There
do you
was
think,
a few of them in that big lake, but for some reason those fish in that small lake, that what we call the Leany Lake, they was just stunning. Jet black.
I've got
Jet
another
black.
one here. I'm dying to throw up.
Okay.
Brett, so I've been going through all your pictures, mate. Just look at, you've got some wicked ones, but this is awesome. This.
Yeah, so
That is a phenomenal picture,
Look
isn't
at the
it?
colour on it. It's like purple on top.
so you had these 12 fish in there, and 3 of them, that was all the 3 biggest fish in there. There was all peas in a pod, all about the same size. So you had this one, which we called Slopey Head, and there's another one, which I caught. At the 3 of them, I caught 2 of them, I think 3 times each. I could never catch the other one, and it was nearly fully scaled, the other one. Stunning fish, and other people would catch it, and yet this one other people would catch, but the other one not many people caught, but I managed to catch it 3 times, but
Yeah.
I just couldn't catch the other one.
It's funny,
It's
though,
just
isn't
weird
it?
how it works out.
Yeah.
Whether or not I'd lost it, you used to lose the odd fish because it was so weedy.
Is this the fish that Chris Ball wanted the picture of?
No, it's the other picture.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah, we got the other one
I've
there
got
as
that
well.
here.
Because, so was Chris hanging around those sort of lakes at the time? And was he aware of this fish? How did he come to...
He'd come across it somewhere where it had been put up, and obviously Chris being Chris, he absolutely wet himself.
Yeah.
And he wanted it for his book, King Carp Waters. That's it there.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Um,
You can see why he wanted that picture.
Yeah, it's just you just don't get those fish anymore, do you?
So at the time, did you appreciate the quality of the fish that you were catching it then, or is it it's just another leading?
Yeah, but I
isn't
mean,
it?
obviously, as time grew on, obviously those fish are very few and far between now.
Almost non-existent,
Yeah,
now, aren't they?
yeah, very very special fish.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I caught that one 3 times, and no one else really could catch that one. Yeah, I couldn't catch the other one. You should drive me mad.
Yeah. And I mean, fishing a small lake like that. I mean, people probably want to know, tackling a lake like that. So would you tend to try and fish it when it was as quiet as possible?
Yeah, if there was one other person on there, that was one too many. Because those fish were so wary, and if you spooked one, they would just go straight out the lake to the outer bands and take the other fish with it.
And what would you say about catching one as well if you caught
Yeah,
one there?
if I caught one, when I put it back, I would go round to the outer bands and put it back there.
That's where
because
you're staying for now, yeah.
Well, that's it, because you learn your lesson. If I'd caught one and put it back in the main part of the lake, it'd shoot off and take any other fish with it. It was just very, very weird on there. But
You found that did work?
yeah, definitely. But you had your own set of problems on there with the weed and that, and I was still fairly young. And I can remember writing to Rod Hutchinson, telling him about, I'm fishing this weedy lake. Can you give me any sort of ideas or whatever? And he wrote me back a letter with a diagram. I was gutted, I still haven't got it.
Yeah.
So he's drew out a rig for me, which was the chod rig. But back then it was just called the paternoster rig. And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, the sea angler's been using the paternoster rig for donkey's years.
So you think this was a rig that Rod was using?
Yeah, he said this is perfect for weedy waters. You know,
He was right there, wasn't he?
You know, you had
Yeah.
the long link below it, sliding up and down above. It's a chod rig. There's no two ways about it.
Did you use the rig?
Yeah, I caught a couple of fish on it.
So
Yeah.
not too many people would have been using chod rigs then, would they?
No, but as I say, we used to call it the fucked up rig because it just looked it just looked fucked up. But it was a paternoster rig.
There were a few different names for that rig, weren't there? I know, can't remember what Frank called it now. It's but yeah. But no, you must have been one of the Did you take that rig on ever waters with you? And
No, because I never really fished anywhere that was as weedy as that.
yeah,
But it was just a great learning curve being on there, watching the fish, getting. Again, that's where I learned how to get spots going. Just regular baiting, keeping an eye on them.
would you prefer to keep as much line out the water as possible and try and fish shorter, so they're not sort of so aware of your presence?
Well, the trouble is there was only two sides of that lake you could fish. The other two sides were out of bounds, so you was obviously restricted. A lot of the time, your line was going up over the weed. So, yeah.
Did you think that in itself is quite good concealment though? It's actually propping the line up rather than the line actually running through
if you could get it tight in the hole and you'd fish along tree lines. One of the tree lines, funny enough, I'd get a little marker float, tie a little bit of loop of line on it, no rig on it. I'd cast it up the tree line, then I'd walk up in the trees and I'd have a big long stick in there with a hook on it, and I'd hook the marker float out, tie my rig on and drop it under the trees.
Yeah, I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
That's handy, isn't it?
And that's, all those little tricks came from fishing the water like that. It
Yeah.
was just a grey matter. You was always trying to think outside the box.
And did you find it? I mean, did you find it the tighter you can get into those areas, the more bites you would get?
Yeah, you could see where they cleaned off the gravel and that.
Mm.
You could see where they cleaned it off. And that was just great times. And I made friends there that I've still my best mates now.
Who was still fishing? Who was fishing there with you at the time?
It's my good old friend Johnny Pearl was there. John's still one of my best mates. My mate Tony Summers, who lives out in Spain now, and we used to have such a laugh. Things we used to get up to was unreal. And yeah, just great friends who I'm still best friends with today. Just fantastic people. And Terry, who I fished Cotton Farm with, I wound up getting him in there, and so we just had a great bit of camaraderie down there, and the good times were really good.
Do you find how it helps having a group of you sort of bouncing off of each other as well? I mean,
Definitely.
Or they bounce off you, or they try and bounce off of you.
Well, we was all very similar minded, just
Yeah.
bit stupid and whatever, but it just and that's all part of it, isn't it? It's not taking it too seriously.
And you said with did this sort of prompt these trips abroad into Holland?
Oh
and stuff?
yeah. That's when, like, obviously after getting a taste for Australia, fishing abroad, I was like, yes, this isn't just refined to England. There's stuff out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, when did I wind up going first trip to Holland? That was about 87, I think. I
Yeah.
went with some mates, and that typifies it there.
The picture we're looking at now absolutely typifies what it should be all about.
Are you lying there? Is that a lilo?
Is that a leucoma?
That's an original fox bed chair.
Is it? Oh, it's a it's a standard one, is it? It's not the deluxe, is it?
No, couldn't afford the deluxe.
You're proper lording it up there.
Yeah,
I
Look
like
at that. That's brilliant, though, isn't
But
it?
that to me, that just sums it all up. What had happened was about 6 months before, I'd gone out to fish a lake near Nijmegen with a couple of mates, and I met a Dutch fella there, and we just got on. He went, look, he said, there's a park lake about 2 miles from here. He said, no English have ever been there. He said, keep it to yourself. I'll take you there. And this was the park lake. It was absolutely stunning. And to this day, we're probably still the only English that fish there. But I wound up getting it absolutely sorted, like with the locals and everything. We'd have them coming down and bringing us beers. I chatted up one of the local birds, very famous girl, Lotcha,
Famous?
because I'd started writing articles for Carpfisher.
Right.
That's when, like, Carpfisher was the magazine to have. It had come out, was it every 6 months?
Yeah, cult magazine, that Carp Society magazine.
and you would read everything in it, even who's printed it.
Yeah.
And you couldn't wait for the Carpfisher to come. And I'd written an article about Australia, which went in it. So I just wound up writing the odd article about fishing abroad, all tongue-in-cheek, nothing serious, because I didn't want to be portrayed as some sort of person that's like trying to be serious or make a name for himself. It was all about the laughs. You know, probably about a third of the articles was about the fishing, and the rest of it was just about the shenanigans and everything else. So yeah, so I'd had this local bird on the firm, and if I was out there with a couple of mates, she'd bring a couple of mates down, and yeah, we'd have football matches.
Now they had a great time, didn't they?
Oh, I had it properly sorted.
Proper fishing.
Yeah, we had.
We didn't even need to. Yeah, it wasn't so much about the fishing then, by the sounds of it.
No,
Brett, was it?
we had football matches with the Dutchies there and everything.
Did you win?
Yeah, we put in a good representation.
Then,
yeah.
good.
So it was just proper lovely times.
Yeah.
I mean, the fish weren't huge in there, up to maybe £30, but just a fantastic place to be.
How often did you go out there?
A couple of times a year.
Did you? Yeah.
But it was one occasion I was out there with, I took Chris Logsdon and his brother Clive and a couple of others. So we're out there. So we've got all your camo gear on and everything. So we're there in the park. We'd been there a couple of days, and then I think it was Clive. So we'd had a big hire van. So Clive's gone to the van to get some more supplies, some food and that. And been gone a little while. All of a sudden, there's all this commotion and sirens and everything. Like, what the fuck? And these police have turned up from every angle. Armed police, like you wouldn't believe.
What? Armed? Well,
like, armed, like proper riot squad, like
what for you guys?
Heavy
or for
metal,
someone else?
heavy shit.
Right. Yeah.
So what had happened? A few days prior to that, the IRA had attacked a British Army base in Holland.
Right.
Right. So not far from there, apparently. So Joe Public, someone's rung up the old Bill and gone, look, there's five blokes
in camouflage gear
sleeping over in our park in camouflage gear.
No.
Of course, we've got foreign plates, big van parked up in the car park.
Oh mate.
Clive's gone to the van. As he's put his keys in it, he's got all these red dots on him.
No. What?
And they've stormed in. They've stormed in.
What a story that is.
Yeah.
Slung him to the ground, handcuffs, everything. And they thought we was fucking terrorists.
I'd like to know what's going through.
I mean,
when you see those dots come up, you're thinking like,
I'm down there fishing. I'm oblivious to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd be looking at your mate and saying to your mate, "There's a red dot on your forehead."
Yeah. I was just sitting down there fishing, but so once they realised what the score was, but then one of my Dutch mates has come down later. He went, mate. He said they sealed off the whole town. Every exit was blocked off, roadblocks, everything. He said there was armed police everywhere.
It's a good job you didn't have Irish accents as well, wasn't it?
Oh, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Or just legging it just for a laugh.
That'd have been it. You'd have been gunned down.
You think they would have shot you? I don't know. I mean, the IRA. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not about to go back and just wonder.
So did you go back in camouflage gear after that, or wear something a little bit more normal?
Yeah, just started wearing rave gear, acid house t-shirts.
Don't look like a carp angler or a terrorist.
Yeah, but just one of those mad things.
That's mental.
It's a good story, though.
Yeah,
isn't it?
that is a wicked story. That.
And you sent us some pictures of Shanty as well. It looked pretty chilly out there.
Blimey! So yeah, that was. I think it was like when did there was a couple of big hits out there, wasn't it? Went like early days before no one knew about it, and I remember Lockie telling me about it. He went, "You got to get out there, mate." He said, "We're going out there." He said, "Get on it." He said, "Because it's major." So me and Lucky Tell said, "Fuck me, yeah, we'll have some of that." So we wound up going out there in the middle of February.
Yeah, you didn't pick the best time to go out there, did you?
Probably the worst decision of my life. So we've got to Shanty.
That's a lot of snow, that mate.
It was -10.
It just looks like Siberia.
Cold
doesn't it?
looking at it.
Yeah,
that's everything that I don't like about fishing in one picture.
Trust me, I've had better ideas. And of course, you haven't got like the proper bivvies you got now. We've just got brollies with over wraps. The water butts were completely solid. And it was just a nightmare.
You're not wearing a lot of like warm stuff.
That was state of the art back then. I mean, at least you had a pair of ski techs on.
Well, I've got the baby grow on. Do you remember the baby grows?
No. Oh, the thermal suit.
just
Yeah.
everyone just a one-piece baby.
Yeah,
grow.
that's right. Oh, is that what you called it?
Yeah,
Right.
that's what they look like. Just an adult baby grow. Ski tex boots.
You're facing that picture that is a proper like. Yeah, I've made a mistake here.
Yeah, I've made a mistake, but
Yeah.
2 weeks before, they was catching them. They was having them.
Oh, okay.
But of course, just my luck, we'd gone there, and it was just. And the funny thing was, about 200 yards down from us was this Belgian guy with a couple of mates, and they'd been there for a week, and it was just like the weather had turned, and they were struggling.
Yeah.
So we got on really well with them. We had we started sorting them out, a few bits and bobs, and likewise. And then one day we said, "Look, come have breakfast with us. You know, we're sorting out a proper English breakfast. This is what we have." So they came up. We give them eggs, bacon, sausages, beans. At least we managed to eat well. So I was like, "Oh, this is amazing! Like, wow, you know, like tonight we'll cook you a proper Belgium dish. We'll cook you dinner." So me and Tel were like, "Oh yeah, we'll have some of this." So of course all day we're like, "God, I wonder what we're gonna have. Like a bit of steak or whatever." Yeah, fucking brilliant. So yeah, come to like 7 o'clock. We've gone, right, let's get down there. I'm starving. We can't cook and wait. We was absolutely famished. So we've gone down there. We've sat down there with them. He's gone, right, you ready? They had this big pot boiling away. We're thinking, God, I wonder what's in that, lamb shanks or whatever. So he's given us a plate each, and he's just spooned on a load of new potatoes, like tinned ones. So okay, right,
All right.
yeah, okay, right. Well, I wonder what's going to go with this. That was it.
Gutted.
Fucking plate of new potatoes with a jar of mayonnaise. They went, yeah, put that on it. It'd be lovely.
And chocolate for dessert.
No dessert.
No, not even that.
So yeah, so me and Tel were looking at each other, thinking,
Did you do that really polite? This is nice. Cheers. Or did you tell him how it was?
yeah, new potatoes, fantastic. We don't get these in England. Like,
They didn't come back for breakfast after
oh
that.
mate, so we've had a few, and then that you couldn't stomach them. So I've got up, politely walked away, pretend I'm having a piss. I've took my plate and I've just slung them.
Oh God.
And I've come back. They went, "Oh, you finished? You want some more?" I went, "No, mate. Honestly, can't have too much of a good thing."
You're a very convincing liar, then, right?
That's why I've got a big nose.
Yeah. Well,
It gets bigger every time I lie about not seeing a fish. My nose gets bigger.
You
yeah,
feel
I'm
so
watching it.
cheated, wouldn't you, after a proper English
I
fryer,
was gutted.
and then you get that?
I wanted to charge them,
Yeah, I'd have
Yeah.
feel well cheated.
Yeah.
but that was when.
Well, you look cheated in that picture a little bit,
Oh
didn't you?
mate, it just honestly to look at that it gives me.
Were you using the chocolate malt boilies out there?
No, I can't remember what I was using then, but I'll get onto the chocolate malt boilies in a minute. But so this Belgian guy, I watched him wind in one day, and he's wound in, and he's got a great big lead on, and he's just took it off without stripping his line down. I went, "What you got on there?" So I've looked, and it's the line clip
As we would use it today.
as we know it, but of course I'd never seen one in my life. But what it was, they use them. It was used for swim feeding, for changing swim feeders when you're match fishing. And he's obviously seen it and thought, yeah, just use that for changing leads. I was like, mate, that's unbelievable. I said, and he worked for a tackle shop in Belgium. I remembered that. So I went, can you give us some? He went, well, he gave me three of these lead clips. And I was like, wow, this is the future.
Really, you thought
It's
that?
like garlic bread.
Did you know that it would eject the lead? It would work like that.
Yeah, it's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he's using them on shanty. Obviously, as soon as you get snagged up, the lids were coming off.
Right.
So when I've come back to England, first thing I did, I went to see Lockie, because me and Lockie were good pals, and Solar was like the.
So was he using it? So was he using it just as a convenience thing, just for being able to clip the leads on, or to get rid of the lead?
Yeah, to get rid of the lead.
Oh, he was
'Cause
actually
obviously shanty had a lot of snags against tree stumps and all that, and it was to get rid of the lead. So I've gone and seen Lockie, and I've given one. I went, Mark, look at this. That's unbelievable. He went, fuck me, bloke. Yeah, he went, cool. Yeah, I might do something with that. And he never did. And I went to the tackle box, and I see Jacko, and I went, mate, have a look at this. He went, fuck me, that's brilliant. He said, give us it. I went, no. I said, I've got two left. I said, they're mine. I said, I've given one to Martin to do something with, so that's that. He was like, oh, fucking hell, okay. But then what Lee did, he spoke to Hutchie a few days later and he told him about his lead clip. So Hutchie's like, wow, that sounds unbelievable. Can you get us one? No. He said, but the guy he got it from works in a tackle shop in Belgium. So Hutchie started ringing around all the tackle shops in Belgium trying to find this lead clip. And in the meantime, Lee had obviously tried to explain to him what this clip looked like and maybe draw him a picture, because Hutchie brought a lead clip out. And when I saw it, like, this is like a year down the line, I thought that's exactly how he probably tried to describe it, because it was a big, funny-looking thing. But that's probably what he tried.
So Rod didn't actually find the shop that sold those?
So Rod rang round these tackle shops, and he actually wound up, as far as he got in touch with his shop where this Belgian guy worked, and it was a Nash shop as well. So when they spoke to Nash, however long after that, and they went, we've had Rod Hutchinson ringing up trying to find out about these clips. So, oh yeah, what clips? Send us some. And that's why Nashy got onto. They were the first ones to bring it out. And when I looked at their one, it was a 9 exact to the one. But
even there was this one shop selling that they weren't widespread across Belgium.
They was swim feeders.
Yeah,
that's what it was for.
Right.
Changing swim feeders.
And were they readily available around Belgium, or did you say it was just the one
no
shop?
Idea.
Right.
No,
right.
I wouldn't have a clue. But I've always kicked myself to wonder if
I'm sure
if I'd patented it when I got it home. If I'd patented it.
And the Nash one was completely. It was almost exactly the
little
same.
black one, exactly the same.
Was it? Blimey! Did you? I mean, it's always easy in hindsight now to Frank Warwick's very, very good at recognising that he needs something in his fishing to help possibly land fish or whatever. I mean, did you think at the time we really need to be ejecting leads?
It was nothing you really thought of until obviously you saw that and you just think, yeah, it makes complete sense.
Yeah,
makes complete sense.
Yeah,
but I just wish. I wonder what would happen if I'd patented it.
Well, you might have been quite rich.
You just don't
if you're not
know,
rich already, Brett.
I mean, I'm sure if you spoke to Jacko, he'll back that story up.
Yeah, I've spoke to him actually. Yeah.
Because when you tell people, they go, yeah, all right, whatever. I go, yeah, I had the first lead clip ever.
How long did you keep hold of those clips for?
Well, do you know, it was funny. So I had 2 left, and I had them on my table in my living room, and my cat ate one of them.
Oh God!
I couldn't believe it. I was like, "You're fucking having a laugh, ain't you?" I nearly contemplated taking him down the vets to get him cut open to get his clip out.
You didn't wait for it to come out the other end, did you?
No, mate. No, I did. I thought,
keeping samples.
Honestly, I was devastated. So I'm down to 1 clip. And that's when I was fishing that Deleney Lake, and I had that 1 clip on 1 rod for ages, and then I lost the fish in the weed, and it had cut me off, and I lost my last remaining lead clip. But what I did do, because I was always messing about with bits of tubing and all that. So I got a length of tubing, a little bit of silicone rubber on the end, and a tiny bit up the tubing. And then what I got a paper clip, because I could remember roughly the shape of what it should be to eject the lead. So I got a paper clip, straightened it out and rebent it and all that, and it worked. It's all good for like underarm flicks and all that. And you would just push one end of the paper clip into the silicone, and then push the other end over.
So pretty much the same, same principle.
Yeah.
And did you carry on fishing like that until Nash brought a clip out, and then?
Well, say that was doing that little homemade version. It was so limited because you couldn't cast it. It would just come off.
How quickly was it after that? Did you see those on the market?
I reckon it was about a year.
Not too long.
No.
I can't remember when they. I don't remember them around when I first started carp fishing.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But obviously Korda, Dan had.
But it's funny because I remember seeing an article about the evolution of the lead clip and all the thought and design process behind it. No, there wasn't.
It's come from somewhere else.
Yeah, you just jumped on it.
Yeah, it's been innovated. And, yeah. But crikey, what were you saying about the boilies?
So I was doing a bit of French fishing, and I've never had a good trip to France. It either pisses down, or it's just not happening. And I got into a bit of correspondence with Rod, and he was bringing out some shelf life boilies, his first lot, chocolate malt. I thought, chocolate malt, shelf life. We're just empty. Anywhere we go, we're going to empty it. So he'd had the first batch made, and I'd ordered about 50 kilo off him, because me and my mate It was Tony Summers. We went out to Spain, and we were so sure about this bait, we didn't take any backup bait. It's like, we don't need anything.
It's chocolate malt, isn't it?
Chocolate malt boilies. It don't matter. And long story short, we did not catch a fish, and didn't think for once it was the bait till we got home. And I've popped down to those Sevenoaks lakes, gone round the outer bounds side, and the fish are there. You can hand feed them, basically. I'd always go around there and give them bait just to get them on it, like what we were talking about earlier. So I've got these chocolate malt boilies, thrown them in. They would not even pick them up. Throw anything else in, they were straight on it.
What was going on with those baits, though?
I don't know, but yeah, I'd spoke to Rod about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know what happened there."
So it was a particular batch. You.
Yeah, I don't know what was in it. Maybe it was the preservative they'd used, because obviously it's early days. That was the first preserved bait, so I don't know what they'd used. But
so the chocolate malt. So I mean, maybe they were successful with the frozen version instead of the preserved version.
Yeah, but obviously in those days, you know, we're going there for a week. It was summertime.
You would use a preserved bait. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a lesson learnt, wasn't it?
Oh,
not all his baits
it's
were
just,
great then, were they?
But chocolate malt was just like, well, it's just a classic. I've caught so many fish on chocolate malt over the years.
You used it since?
Do you know, I haven't used it for a few years. It's getting that original one. There's a lot of copies and people that say, oh, it is the same, but if I could get the original chocolate malt, lovely.
Yeah, we've had John Baker on actually recently. John would probably help you out with that, or give you some information on it.
I think Gary Bays can.
Do you know what? I've never used chocolate malt.
Oh, awesome bait.
Never fished with it.
Yeah. Used to use it in. I mean, Lockie's base mixes were just second to none. And his old Savay seed mix. I used to use the chocolate
Club
malt and the
mix and
Savay
stuff,
seed mix. Just with the club mix, it's just like that was always my first choice bait when they came out. The original club mix, second to none. If ever I was on a water where they'd not seen it, it was a no-brainer, and it was you would catch on it. Fantastic bait.
What? Because of the uniqueness of the bait, or the quality of the ingredients,
the quality was second to none. You know, with the squid octopus, which is just like still one of the best flavours ever.
Yeah, I noticed that in your garage the other day as well.
Yeah. Bit of that with a bit of Kemby cream.
Yeah.
Don't say too much. Kevin's listening.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
we'll have to delete that last bit.
Yeah, that bit. We'll just cut to the next shot.
Yeah. No, but no, they were great. They were great mixes, weren't they? Great flavours. Do you think boilies have improved over the years? Ingredients and everything else, or are those original baits still the best?
Well, you could get the quality ingredients then. I mean, Jimmy Burns come up with a base mix, the fish meal base mix. It was just like out of this world. Every ingredient in it was just quality. There was case in it. There's proper fish meals then, like white fish meal, sardine and anchovy, caplin, just all quality. But you can't get those fish meals anymore. It's either LT94 or Provimi. Everyone uses the same fish meals. It's just cheap, the cheapest grade of fish meal you can get. It's very difficult to get those quality fish meals. If you could, you would outfish all those other fish
and
meals.
Like you say, the fish are seeing the same thing all the time, which is key as well, isn't it?
And all those fish meal baits everyone's using, they've all got the same fish meal in them.
Yeah. Do you think the actual the makeup of the base mix, that profile, they're detecting that over any liquids or additives that you're adding to it anyway?
I'm sure it's just a case of, if you've got a quality bait like that, which Jim came up with, once they eat it and it does them good, they're going to keep searching it out.
The old HMV sort of theory with
if you're eating cheap shit and it's just giving you the shits, you ain't going to be too keen on eating it. If you eat something that's actually doing you good,
and they enjoy eating it,
they'll search it out. I mean, it's like it was funny. Alan Smith, legendary carp angler, he absolutely smashed Harrow. He had a bait that the fish would actively go around looking for, and it was so simple. It was he'd got these cat biscuits, ground down cat biscuits, and I think it was just like maybe calcium caseinate in it, but it just suited that lake.
We've heard this before as well recently.
Yeah, he would go up there, he'd walk round, you'd have anglers blanking, he'd just slot in between them, and you'd have like 3 fish.
That's amazing, isn't it?
The fish would actively seek it out.
Yeah.
It just absolutely ripped it apart. But on other lakes, struggled. But
You
it
can
just
still
suit-
do that with bait now.
If you can get the ingredients. There's a lot of good bait people out there that know bait, but it's expensive now. Really expensive.
And obviously regulations at the moment are a little bit up in the air, aren't they?
Yeah. And the thing is with Harrow, when Harrow was in its prime, I missed out in its prime. I got in there maybe 2 years before the end, which we'll get onto that later. But there was anglers on there that was just top of their game, and a lot of good bait anglers, say like Jimmy Burns, Gary Verity, that knows bait inside out, and are very, very good anglers. And so those fish at Harrow were used to quality bait. If you went up there with a cheap bait like a Semo and Sawyer bait, you wouldn't get a bite.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
struggle.
Yeah, we will get into Harrow in a minute. And obviously as well, you caught the biggest fish in the country from Conningbrook. But let's just go back a little bit before you actually fished Conningbrok, and what led you to fish Conningbrook in the first place.
So we're going back to so I'd been fishing Sevenoaks and I had the fish kill, which was just completely took the wind out of my sails. And I wound up on Chris Logsdon. He was then running Mid Kent Fisheries. Phenomenal complex of lakes, and he told me about Milton Pan. He said, go down and have a look at Milton Pan. He said, it's a bit of you down there. And I only used to fish Sunday nights. That's just Sunday nights was it. Obviously because it'd be quieter on a Sunday night, and obviously with work and that, I'd started working for myself, and it was getting very, very busy. So I thought, I'll have a look at that. And I went down and had a look at a very, very hard lake, up there with Conningbrook. So I'd gone down, I'll have some of this. So I got a ticket, and I planned to fish it a couple of weeks later. And for some reason, I wound up having to go on a Saturday. I never fish Saturdays, but something had cropped up for the Sunday. So I thought, fuck it, I've got my stuff ready. I'm geared up for it. I'm keyed up for it. I'll do the Saturday. So I've gone down there on a Saturday afternoon, and the lake's busy. There was only 2 swims left. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is why I don't do Saturdays. But I'm here now anyway, so I've got out the van, had a walk round, got right down to the bottom corner. That was free. I've walked right round the other side. It's the furthest walk, and there was a swim there free. And I could see these locals looking, what's this geezer up to here? So I've gone back to the car. I thought, right, I'll go right round there, furthest swim away. Barrowed me gear all the way round. It was a long walk. I was sweating me bollocks off. So I'd gone all the way round there. I was sat there sweating, and then out of the corner of my eye, I see a fish roll down in the corner, which I just walked past. So I thought, well, that'll do. So now I've got my barrow. I've gone back down, and now the locals are thinking, this geezer ain't got a clue. Look, he's coming back now. So I've come back down to the corner. Again, fish has rolled. I thought, that'll do. Set my gear up, way back off the fish. Flicked them out. An hour later, I've had a fish. It wasn't that big. Got up a double. So I thought, quite a result. That'll do. So flicked it back out. So of course you had swirlies in there, which became the biggest common in Kent. So everyone's down there trying to catch swirly. So sitting there, I'm just chuffing myself. I've had a bite, that'll do me. And just starting to get just starting to feel I've had another bite. This fish led me a merry dance everywhere. It's swirly. I'm like, I don't believe this. I've only been here a couple of hours. There it is there. That's swirly. A bit spawned out there.
How big was it?
I think it was about £32 there.
Yeah.
But yeah, a bit spawned out. But
So you'd literally been there a couple of hours.
Yeah, and it went on to be, I think it's still in there. It's about 46 now.
Yeah.
So now I've got swirly. So fucking result. So I've walked back up, and the geezer's fishing. I said, "Here, mate." I said, "You could take a picture of me, could you?" He went, "You've only just got here." I went, "Yeah, I know." I said, "I got a big one in the net." I said, "It's my second one." He went, "What?" I said, "It's my second fish." He went, "You're having a laugh, aren't you?" So he's come down. He's took the pictures, and of course, words got round, and a couple of people on there just packed up and gone. because I've had that, and they're only on there
I
trying to catch
I
that.
just don't get
Yeah,
that.
they've packed
Oh
up
my
and gone.
God.
So that's it. I'm buzzing. I'm like, do I fuck off home or do I do the night? I thought, no, I'll do the night. So I've done the night. I had another one during the night, a 20-pounder, and then there was another fish in there, the second biggest fish called Sasha, another common. First light, I had another bite. I've caught Sasha. I've now caught the two biggest commons in the lake. So now I've gone and seen Matey again, and I went, all right, mate. I said, couldn't do us another picture, could you? Yeah, what? I said, yeah, I just had another. I said, I had another one in the night. I said, we just had another big one. He's like, for fuck's sake. So he's come down. He's like, I don't believe this. So he's took the pictures, and he hasn't even bothered staying for a chat. He's just gone. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'm picking shit. And fuck me, one of my other rods has gone. So now I'm into my fifth fish. I've landed that, and it's another nice common. And I'm thinking, do I go up and see Matey, or do I try?
You
and
knew
take
you already had the hump a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He weren't happy. So
No.
I thought, well, do you know what? No, I'll just go see him, and these are lovely fish.
Yeah.
And at the time they were, we were talking a few years ago. These are decent sized fish. So I've gone up. I went, all right, mate. He went, what? I said, just had another one. I said, couldn't take a picture. He went, no. I went, what? He went, no. He said, you're taking the piss. I went, are you having a laugh? He went, no, get someone else to take your pictures. So I've had to go up and see his mate. I went, here, mate. I said, your mate won't take photos for me. He went, what? He went, well, have you had some more then? I said, well, I've just landed my fifth fish. He went, you're joking. He went, of course I'll take your pictures. He went, don't worry about him. He said he's had 3 fish in 4 years on him. I thought, well...
He probably gave up carp-fishing after that.
He's thrown his gear.
That's why he's got the hump.
Yeah.
So his mate's come down, he's took the pictures. As I'm putting it back, I've had another bite. So I've landed that. It was an upper double. It's just like, he's like, mate, that's unreal. He said, what are you doing? But I always used to take a bag of moody bait. And I always remember I had a packet of shelf life. It was Nashi, I think, monster crab. And I'd always leave it just tucked inside my umbrella, so people were like, oh yeah, I can see what he's using. Oh, well, there you go, mate, that's what I'm using.
They're all going to be using
I weren't. So he's clocked it. He's like, oh,
Sneaky
right,
that,
okay.
I like that.
Yeah, wink, yeah.
So that was it. I've had 6 fish, and then just as I was packing up, I had another one. So I had 7 fish. It was ridiculous. You don't, it just doesn't. So his mate's come down again, the nicer one. He's like, mate, he said, this is like a red letter day. Don't think this ever happens on it. He said, no one's ever caught that. I went, yes, just one of them days, mate. I said, just it is what it is, and that's that. So
that's epic.
That must
That's
be
a story.
so that was that.
Carries on, yeah.
So I went back about 2 weeks later, and I wound up in that swim the furthest one away. And long story short, I had 6 fish and lost one. But the one I lost was the 7th one, and all I can hear in my head was like, don't think this ever happens again on here, mate. It's a one-off. But I just had something going, a rig and a bait that they was just on.
Are you going to tell us what that is?
Kevin knows. I'm sure I must have told him.
Yeah.
Or maybe I didn't. So anyway, one of the locals has come round. He went, oh, mate, he said, that's mad. He said, there was a bloke on here 2 weeks ago. I had 7. I went, really? He went, yeah. He said, keep it to yourself. He said, monster crab. I went, really?
News travels fast.
Yeah, and the local tackle shop, I can't remember what it was, they sold out of monster crab everything. Honestly, they all went in there, they bought him out of the liquids, the bait and everything. They all went down and bought the monster crab.
Oh dear. I mean, monster crab. I mean, it was a decent bait, but yeah, they were.
Yeah.
God,
Just-
I wonder how long they were using monster crab for on there.
I don't know.
Still not working.
No. How's he do it?
There'll be somebody listening to this going,
That
damn.
bastard, yeah. I fucking spent a fortune on that and all.
You know exactly what. You know exactly why you were catching those fish.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, I just had something they wanted that.
so he's
that
not
was
going to tell us
present-
either, Tobe, is he?
Presented right.
Yeah,
Kevin's in the shop buying monster crab now, isn't he?
You never know.
he knows what you're like, probably.
But funny enough, they wound up. I didn't know till a few years later when I was up at Lockie's. 'Cause it was always a hub of activity up at Solar, and he had some great anglers working up there. He had Mickey Sly, Nick Kelly was working there, Ian Booker, God bless him, fantastic angler, Ian. And I remember going up there and seeing him, and he went, I'm on Milton Pan. He said, I fished your swim last night. I went, what do you mean my swim? He went, Brett's Corner. And actually, even to this day, that swim's called Brett's Corner because of that hit I had.
Did you catch a lot more out of there after that?
I wound up, I always remember figures because I'm anal. I think I'd done about a dozen nights on there in total. I had 21 fish.
So it didn't stop?
No, it was pretty regular, and obviously I'd caught swirly and I'd caught the two biggest fish in there, so there wasn't really much point. I was trying to catch a mirror, and I caught one mirror. All the rest were commons.
Right.
But there were some cracking mirrors in there. So I stopped fishing and I got a chance to fish a lake in Essex that came up that a friend of mine was running that offered me a ticket. So I'd never fished Essex before, so I thought I'd break myself in and go over there.
Yeah.
And
break yourself in.
Yeah. And it's like with Kent and Essex. We taught you boys how to fish.
I'm not from either, by the way, so I'm out of this. Yeah. Tobe, obviously.
Yeah. My man as well, yeah.
But yes, my sort of luck continued, and it became a joke between me and my mates about the Whitey luck. For whatever, I'd rather be known. We got
a few lucky gifts here, actually. Yeah, mementos. Yeah.
Do you know, I'd rather be known as a lucky angler rather than a good angler, because then people won't take much notice of you.
Dan won't like that. You're not lucky.
No, Dan's not into that. But no, I'd rather people think, well, he's just a jammy fucker. Take no notice of him.
Yeah,
that suits me.
Just lucky.
That suits me. I know why I'm catching. I know what I'm doing. When my rigs go out, there is no one else that could present them any better. I'm happy with that. What goes on after that? It'd be as silly as arseholes on the bank. Do whatever you want to do. But me, the most important thing, those rigs are where I want them, and that's that. So I went over there, and just typical, first night, first fish, biggest fish in the lake. Which didn't go down too well with the locals. And I just, one of those lakes that you click with, beautiful lake, and I just got in tune with it, and I was catching regular on there. But certain things transpired with the local bailiff who...
There's no publicity, so we're not allowed to share anything.
No, he was sort of very arrogant, full of himself, and like he had his own swim on there, and he used to come round in the mornings, go, I've had 2 last night, what you had? Well, not a lot. Well, there you go, boys. It's like, well, when you come out here in the real world and fish with us, then you can start giving it large. But he was on there and he was doing stuff which you weren't allowed to do, fishing in the snags and all that. And if we'd got caught doing that, you'd get an instant ban. And a few times he'd come around, I got a fish snagged up, can you get the boat and help us out? Don't say anything. And I'd help him out. And but all the time he was like, and then one day I was fishing a swim and I'm on fish. I'm just waiting for the bite. All of a sudden, bosh, great big method ball lands right in my swim. He's cast down from his bailey swim because I'm on fish. I am fuming. I went, are you going to fucking reel that in? He went, what? That's nowhere near you. I said, you know what you're doing. Reel it in. And he didn't. I've wound up going up there and just threatening to throw him in the lake. He's like, you can't say that. I'm the bailiff. I said, whatever. So that was the start of it, really. And I started catching regular on there, and he just didn't like it. And he was just whispering in the ear of my mate that owned it, and I'd become very good friends with him and his wife. Like, got really close to him. But unbeknown to me, this was going on, and I can honestly say, hand on heart, I never caught a fish in there that wasn't caught fair and square. Never pulled a stroke. You'd have a few problems with you used to get water users on there. In boats and that, and they would drive you mad. And there was this one guy, we called him Catch the Pigeon, and he weren't a full ticket, and you'd see him when you drove up to the lakes, you'd see him like a mile down the road, walking up the road with his life jacket on, and he'd canoe around the lake, but they're meant to stick to the lake, but he'd come crashing through the reed beds, wipe all your lines out, and so give him a bit of stick, and I got reported for giving him a bit of stick. Nothing that outrageous. Like, for fuck's sake, mate. and he'd be like, "Blip, bing, bow, whoop, beep, beep," and all this. That's why I called him Catch the Pigeon. Fuck off, carp angler. So what with the this bailiff being jealous and chipping away, I wound up losing my ticket.
Right.
And that absolutely gutted me. Not so much that I'd lost the fishing, because there's always another lake, but it was the end of my friendship with my mate that I come really close with, and I just thought to myself, do you know what? If catching fish means you're going to lose friends, then do you know what I mean? It's just like madness. All we're doing is catching fish, yet some people don't like it. And I actually didn't fish for a year. I just got fed up with carp fishing. I thought, I don't need this. Do you know what I mean? I lost a really good friend.
So what happened next?
So I was pretty disillusioned with carp fishing. So yeah, I just took I started getting to me barbling. Loved it because it was just back to basics. I was going up the River Lee, again with my old pal Lucky Tell, Terry Rowlands, and Johnny Pearl. Just good like mates just up there, just roving about, being active, rolling meat through swims, and I got really into it, and I enjoyed my time up there. And then I was always in touch with Chris Logg. He was a great friend, and he said, "Come on, mate," he said, "get the old cart rods back out." He said, "Why don't you go down Conningbrook?" And obviously I knew about the big fishing. I said, "It must be busy down there, mate." He went, "Honestly," he said, "look, you do Sunday nights." He said, "You pretty much be the only person down there, trust me."
That's really surprising.
Yeah, but considering like the whole world and his dog was down there trying to catch the British record, and I wasn't remotely interested in, because I'm not a bounty hunter. I just want to go angling.
So that was kind of the first time that you sort of set out to...
Yeah, I just want to go somewhere peace and quiet where I can do what I do. And
but I take it you wanted a fish there to catch two-tone.
It was never a thought.
Yeah.
Never. I thought, well,
right.
I'm doing one night a week. There's people on there doing God knows how many nights a week that are like top anglers.
So what made you want to fish it then? Just it sounded like good anglers on there.
Just a challenge. Just good anglers. Sunday nights, that's the main thing. It just appealed to me. Somewhere I can go. Might be one or two of us on there, and if I can nick a bite, great. Just wanted to ease myself back into it. Obviously, quite a very difficult water to choose to get back into it, but I just thought, you know what, yeah, okay. I went down there and had a look, and I thought, yeah, all right, let's get the carp rods back out. And what did you know about the fish at that time? I mean, a lot of people that would fish a venue like that, they want to know that fish's habits and everything. So did you spend any? I wasn't even thinking about two-tone, because there was far more deserving people on there, good anglers that I thought should catch it. And then when I looked at the pictures of the fish in there, and there was only 21 fish in there in 20 acres. The one fish that stood out, I thought, do you know what, I might have half a chance of catching that, was a friendly mirror, because it was a catchable one. So I thought, well, yeah, if I'll get that. But it's, as I say, I don't go around, and unless you can physically see a fish and put a bait in front of it, it is down to the luck of the draw. So I just wanted to go down and see if I could get a bite. So I always remember the first time I fished it, I got down there and it was blowing a hooligan. It was pissing down with rain. I thought, I picked the wrong night to come down here, and I just wound up fishing in the car park, and yeah, nothing happened. Everything got soaked, so I came home.
Was it a nice venue? Did you like it straight away?
Yeah, it's a one-off venue, Conningbrook. It's quite open, not great big trees to climb up. There's the odd tree, but something about it. Yeah, something about it. So I went back the following Sunday, and I wound up in the Julie Rose Bay. Very weedy. So I flicked my rods out, and I had a fish that night. Early evening, I had one of what they used to call the unknowns. It was a 22-pound common, but they never used to get caught. And I just caught it on a boilie wrapped in pellet paste, which was I'd done well on that Essex Lake, fishing like that. And so I thought, fuck me, that'll do. It's only my second night I've had a bite out of here. And it's funny because a lot of people used to rock up at Conningbrok beat before they even got their rods out because they'd convinced themselves they weren't getting a bite.
Or they were expecting to be there a long time and didn't really,
Yeah.
that expectation wasn't that they were going to catch it straight away.
Well, that's it. At the end of the day, they're carp, and if you've been successful in catching, then just carry on doing what you're doing, and you got every chance as much as anyone else. So so I was well chuffed with that, and it gives you such a confidence boost because now you know you've got a bite under your belt. You can crack on. Whatever comes along comes along. And then it was four Sunday sessions later I was down there, and I'd kept an eye on the conditions, and I knew where I wanted to fish. And it's funny, getting back to being like a limited time angler, I'm very anal with watching the weather, knowing where people are fishing, what areas haven't got any pressure, and where the fish might be. I've always done that. I'll ring people up down the lake, drive them mad. I'm not interested in who's catching, what's been out. The main thing for me is who's fishing where, what areas aren't getting any stick.
The fish there were pretty well known for showing a lot as well. Did you pay a lot of attention to that, or I mean, they're not always feeding fish though, are they? No.
And as I say, on this particular session, I knew where the wind was going. I knew where I wanted to be at, and I'd found a lovely spot. And I thought, when the conditions are right, that's got to be a good shot. And it was, I was down on the long lawn, and to the left of me, you got like the island. And as it curved round, there was just a lovely flat spot out there. It was like 11 foot deep, but when I put a lead on it, it was just like glass. And that's what I would do a lot at the end of any session. I'll go around, and especially on a new lake, just go and plumb a swim.
How unusual is that to find those sort of spots on there?
Well, it was very, very weedy, so I knew it was a good spot.
You think anyone else had been fishing on it?
No, I don't think so. So I'd got down there, and again on a Sunday, there was a few people down. Lee Watson was there, who's like, me and Lee have become very good friends. Fantastic angler, great close-in angler, phenomenal. And he was obsessed by the long common. He'd been trying to catch it for about 5 years. And the thing is, with that fish, you could get on it in the margins, and it would just do you. It would just take the piss. And it was funny because it's a big fish, but it's got a very small mouth. It's like a double figure mouth. And it's a bit deformed, but it's not through hook damage. It's just a very strange. You could see why it was hard to catch. You didn't even used to think about catching the long common. It was like mythical. So I've rocked up, and I've got in the swim, and the wind was hammering into the bay, and I thought, this looks good. And you would have a social. You'd always pick someone swim for a social because it just wouldn't do night bites. So you'd have a social and then all go off, and you'd have your kebab delivery and your bottles of wine, and it was just fantastic. And so I've got a few of the boys sitting there with me, and I've put one out on this spot. I'm all clipped up. I know exactly where I want it. I've lined it up, and when you're in tune with your gear, with the lead, with your clip on your spool, and you just know when it hits it and it's that far above the water, you just know you're bang on. And as I say, the wind's coming in, so I've whacked it out. It was hit the clip. I've just put the rod down straight away because I don't want any bow in the line. So of course the boys behind me like, he hasn't even felt for the drop. Noddy. But I know I'm on the spot. I don't need to feel for the drop.
You don't always need to do that.
I know I'm on that spot, and it's just, I just knew straight away, just like, wow, that's on it, without doubt. So I'm like, don't need to feel for the drop. I'm on it. So that was out there. I had 2 little 10mm pop-ups on about an inch. And long story short, it was just before, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. It roared off, and this fish took me everywhere. It was on the top, it was down the bottom, it was just angry, didn't like being hooked. I've netted it, shone the head torch in, it's the long common. And that was my first English 40.
Was it?
Yeah, it was 40 and a half.
Yeah, look at that, Brett.
And
we're looking at a picture of the long common now.
And I always remember, as soon as I stuck it in a retainer, because it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I thought it's going to be light in an hour. as it got lighter, Jacko was there. Jacko used to do Sunday nights.
I do remember reading your chapter in the book as well,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah, you were in. Yeah.
That's right. I got a chapter in Lee's book. So Lee's fishing about 200 yards down the bank from me. So I've ran up to him. He's just sitting there. I went, right, Lee. I said, I've just seen the long con. He went, no, where? I went, in my fucking net. He went, you're joking. And I've just legged it back down and I'm punching the air and everything. And yeah,
great.
and a few of the boys were there. I was there, and I felt a bit gutted for Lee because he was much more deserving of that than me. But listen, you can't odds what comes along. And yeah, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
I always remember the Terry Hearn story, and I think it's it's in that book actually, isn't
Yeah.
it? With the lilo and stuff and trying to land it. Is it angry with everybody that hooked it?
I think so, yeah. But
How long did it last for, that fishing there?
I think it died about 4 or 5 years ago.
I mean, because of its mate, you know, it was always like, it was a little bit, like you said, I think it was a really exclusive carp to catch, that one.
Yeah, you would talk about it, but you wouldn't talk about it catching it wise. You just
Almost
talk
like
about
mythical.
It, yeah, like just respectfully.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was that, and then it was actually it was on my 15th session day, and I always remember because Conningbrook had never done a fish off the top. For some reason, you just couldn't catch them off the top. And I remember sitting around in the Perfume Bay, early morning, misty, flat calm, and these 3 fish have just come along, grabbing at leaves. I thought, fuck me, they're up for a floater. So I've quickly got my gear together, put a little controller out, length of line, and just trimmed the pop-up down. And it was just like textbook stuff. And the fish in the front, I saw the tail come up and had a little chunk out the top of it. That was the fat linear. And that had last been out at 38 pound. And he was at the front. So I flicked it out, and it's just, as I say, textbook stuff, just pulled it down, see where that was going. And the fat linear's come along, just took it, I've hooked it, I've got one off the top, unreal. But literally 30 seconds into the fight, the hook link went. I was absolutely gutted, especially knowing it was that fish as well. So that was that. So I licked me wounds all week, sulking like you do, just swearing.
That was still brilliant angling, wasn't it?
It was just one of those opportunities.
But that's the sign of a good angler. You see an opportunity like that, and it's like you don't need a second thought, do you?
Well, no, you just got to seize that moment, and because who knows, a few seconds later they might have been gone. It was just mad, they was just there, and that was that. So I went down there the following week, still with the ump, and I went on to Joe's Point, and Joe's was obviously the most popular swim on the lake. Gave you such a big area to fish, and there was a little weed bed to the right in the margins, and a big clear spot in the middle of it, and it had done 3 fish in the last few weeks. I think Tom Banks had one, Jacko had one, I think Blue had one, God bless him. So yeah, people were putting bait in this hole, and it's there to the right, so that's, you've got to put a bait on there. But what I did was I got my marker float out, and I'm just leading it, and I'm only underarming it because I'm only fishing 2 rod lengths at most. And I've got my marker float, but what I'm looking for, obviously the hole had got quite big now, it was about 5 foot round, so I don't want to put it in the middle because obviously those fish know every stone on that. So I just gradually popped it back till I could feel the silt, which was about a foot in front of where the weed started. I thought, that's where I want to be, because obviously if the fish go in there, any food turns up, it's going to be along that seam. Everything else has been eaten in the middle, apart from what people have thrown in, and they're going to be wary of it. So that's what I did, just dragged it back, and I got a little 1 ounce lead, put some putty up the line, just flicked it out, dropped it in, that was that. And then, yeah, that sat there all night, and in the morning, fish started rolling on this hole. And it was probably the most frustrating time I've ever had. I'm sitting there with me, sitting on my hands, and I've got fish rolling in the hole, like a rod length away from me, fizzing, and I'm getting liners, the bobbies going up and down, and this went on for 2 hours. absolute brain damage. And I'm thinking, well, I've been done. Obviously, that rig's probably just hooked up in the weed or whatever, and yeah. And then it just ripped off. And Smudge, God bless him, fantastic Smudge, lovely fella. He's a legend, Smudge. And he passed away a few years ago. I was gutted I missed his funeral because I was in Spain. But yeah, so Smudge is there, and he's come running around. He's seen me playing this fish, and then it weeded me up solid. I was like, fuck it. He's got, go and get the boat. All right, so I'm just holding the rod just with steady pressure, and all of a sudden it kicked, and I just give it a little bit more, and it came out. So I've called to Smudge when it's out. So now it's running up and down the margins. I didn't see it, so obviously I didn't think for 1 minute what it was. And yeah, so Smudge is down there with the landing net, and I've brought it up. It's in the net, and he's looked and he went, that's it. What are we talking about? He went, that's two-tone. I was like, you're having a laugh, ain't you? It hadn't been out for 10 months since Gary Bays had caught it at the first ever 60-pounder. So it'd been on the missing for 10 months, and obviously the whole world and his oyster was trying to catch it, wondering how big it was going to be. And yeah, there it was, and it topped up. When we first weighed it, it weighed exactly the same as what Gary had it at 61 something. But then when I got the scales checked, that was quite a bit out, and it wound up at 60 pounds.
Did you want to claim the record if it, potentially then? Would you? I mean, obviously, if
it had been, obviously you'd be silly not to. But yeah, it was.
Gary's he had to wait a long time, didn't he, to get that recognised?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was £60 9 ounces.
You got to take that, won't you?
Yeah, fucking hell. I was like, I couldn't believe it. Like I'd jumped the queue because, as I say, there was a lot more deserving anglers put a lot more effort in, but
it doesn't work like that, Brett, does it?
It is what it is. It's the old Whitey luck again.
Yeah, you're really lucky. Yeah, we need to sort of like rub hands or something before you leave, then, Brett. But yeah, it just, I mean, one of the most famous carp that's ever swum in this country.
Yeah, phenomenal. And it's a he, which people seem to assume it was a she, but yeah, two-tone was just a genetic freak.
Yeah, I asked Ian that question. He wasn't sure, but they never saw it. It was never spawned out or anything.
No,
was
and
it
had a couple of captures. It was milting up.
Yeah,
it was milting up on the mat. So yeah, it was a male fish. But you know what the most satisfying thing was? That my mate of mine was still on the Essex water. And of course, I rang him up and told him he could not wait to go and see that bailiff. So he's gone down to see him. He just drove over there purposely. Drove all the way from Kent just to see him. And he went, "Oh, did you hear about what Brett's had?" No, what's that? He went, "He's only gone and caught two-tone." He went, "Mate, you should have seen the look on his face." Because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have wound up on there.
Did you send him a bottle of champagne as well?
It's just funny how things work out.
Yeah,
just,
fate.
Yeah, just unbelievable.
How much time did you spend on there after that? You carried on fishing there?
Yeah, I carried on fishing there because it was a pleasure to be there, and the socials and the people there. Just very, very special memories. Just great people, and yeah, we had some very special times on there. Yeah. I had a habit of getting naked for some reason.
Did you? You've got that out of the system now, hopefully.
Yeah, I get bored sometimes. I just think, what can I do just to show off and just get a bit of attention? Or yeah, I was like that at school.
You always like a bit of attention.
Well, no, it's just at school I was always the class joker because obviously you had the bigger boys in there, and I thought, well, if I'm stupid and make people laugh, I won't get picked on.
Did it work?
Yeah. But,
well, we let most things go on the podcast, but nudity, we're going to have to say no, I'm afraid, Brett.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just something I've always enjoyed, being stupid and making people laugh for some reason.
I mean, that it sounds like you did. So if you're trying to take anything away from why you caught those fish, I mean, you found some pretty good spots on there then, didn't you? And well,
as I say, that's that spot where I caught that from. That had been created from other people throwing bait in. I'd trickled a bit of bait in there on and off.
You know what you said about the gravel as well. I mean, is that a general rule for that you would always stay off clean gravel?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. I know Lee had been putting quite a bit of bait in there as well, so he was absolutely gutted when I caught that, but. It couldn't be helped. He
didn't have to wait too much longer.
No, exactly. And
he was the next person to catch it.
I was relieved when he caught it.
Yeah,
because he really deserved that fish.
I think the whole angling world were happy for him.
Yeah, fantastic. You couldn't wish to meet a nicer fella.
Yeah.
But
most people got their chance if they persevered with it long enough. But
Yeah, and there was, funny enough, a lot of people done a lot of time and never come close to it. I mean, Tom Banks must have caught every fish in that lake.
I think I cursed him with that fish because the week before it died, I was talking to Tom and he said, "Chap, I'm not sure if I'm going to catch that or not." I'm not, he says chap or fella, don't he?
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, of course you'll catch it, Tom. You catch everything." A week later, it was dead. So phenomenal angler.
He never gave me my ticket for Save for the days only, Tom, because I think he remembered the stories of me with spiking people's drinks with viagra on Conning Brook.
What scared him a little bit?
I used to crush viagras up and put them in people's drinks and then just watch them squirm. They'd be sitting there having your little social, and I'd put someone's drink, and all of a sudden, like half an hour later, you'd see them like crossing their legs and being uncomfortable, sitting there thinking, am I gay? I've got a raving hard on. I'm just sitting there with me mates. What's wrong with me? And I'd tap the others up. I'd let Watto know and the other boys, and you'd be sitting there. We'd all be waiting for the movement and the up down and like crossing your legs, and then you'd start going like, "Fucking hard here, innit?" And then you'd be like, "Have you tried them stiff rigs yet?" And of course they was oblivious to it, but those of us that knew,
they'd be sweating, wouldn't they? They'd be going,
you'd get up and like what I'd go up to have a piss, and I could just see his shoulders moving where he's crying.
You're very cruel, Brett, but funny.
I think that's why Tom didn't want to give me the ticket, because he did mention that when I spoke to him about getting on a day's season ticket, and he mentioned the Viagra. I thought, yeah, he obviously hasn't forgot about that, even though I didn't do it to him. He was never in your swim long enough, so he might well have got it.
Where'd you go after Conningbrook?
So I've always remember it. I was sitting on Joe's Point. I got a phone call, and a guy called Chris Boland, who was the membership secretary at the time. He went, "Hi Brett, it's Chris Boland here." He said, "Just to let you know, your interview's come up for Harrow Waltonians." And I'd completely forgot about it. I'd been on a waiting list for 8 years. I went, "Oh, fuck off, mate. Who is it?" He went, "No, it's Chris." I went, "No, come on, don't stop winding me up." He went, "No, I can assure you it's Chris Boland." And I was like, "Shit." I went, "Oh, all right, Chris, how are you, mate?" So that was that. So Jimmy Burns had proposed me, and you had to go up and sit in front of like a panel of 6 people, and they'd fire loads of questions at you. And if one of them didn't like your face, you didn't get in. But I was lucky I got in. I got my ticket. But that was towards the end of its heyday, Harrow. I probably got the last 2 years of it when it was
good.
Still one of the premier lakes in the country.
Days only still. Yeah.
Harrow was strictly days only, 2 rods.
So you had 2 years of days only still left on there, did you?
Of when it's good, it still carried on for about another 10 years. The days only till it went over to night. So,
right.
So, but I mean, for me, it was like 165-mile round trip.
What was in there then when you were fishing?
You probably had maybe a dozen 40s, maybe 2 50s and a 60. Oh,
you still had those in there?
Dimmer's mate was in there, and Dimmer's mate had done 60 pounds.
Yeah.
You had Chopped also was still there. You had the long un, which was just the most phenomenal fish the Conning Valley's ever produced. Arguably with a black mirror, but to me, the long un in there was, I remember taking the pictures when Greg Richardson caught it at 53, and it was just fantastic. Greg, he had a habit of catching the big ones. Lovely for Greg.
Yeah, he's a bit under the radar.
He's old Buzz Lightyear, bless him.
Yeah.
But great Greg, lovely fella. But when I saw it on the bank, that fish was just off the chart.
Oh, so you at least you got the chance to fish Harrow when it was. It's just a phenomenal lake, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you would just fly around it. Despite the drive, you would fly around there. It was just like, I'd have to get up at 2:30 in the morning to be there for 4 o'clock.
And when there were other people there then?
Yeah, I would go and fish either a Sunday or a Monday. I couldn't do all that sleeping in the car lark outside. Yeah. You wasn't allowed to sleep in the car park. You had to park outside the gates. So people would either sleep in a car or just get their bed chair out and sleep in this track. I thought, I can't be doing that. So I just used to fish either a Sunday or a Monday. If I'd done a Sunday, usually Lewis had got his ticket. Lewis Reed had got his ticket same sort of time as me. If I went up there on a Sunday morning, I knew Lewis would be there, and he'd always be asleep in his car. And I'd go to the BP garage and get a muffin and a coffee. And if I knew he was there, I'd bring him his muffin and his coffee. Bless him, he was like an old tramp sitting there. Bless him. But yeah, so that was it. I'd either do the Sunday or the Monday. But it was just magical. It just gave you goosebumps to fish it.
And what did you learn about the lake? I mean, did you do? I mean, again, keeping your ear to the ground on there, or just doing your own thing? Or
well, do you know what's funny? It's obviously a lot of very, very good anglers on there. But it's funny with the locals. The locals wouldn't turn up till the afternoons. They just fished the afternoons and evenings. Whereas us outsiders, we'd be there for the full session, clucking. But with them locals, that was funny because you had to be off at 10:30. So you'd all meet up in the car park. Everyone that was on there had fished that night. But there was two particular locals on it. They would fish it 6 times a week. They was never there on a Monday because one of them had to play darts or something. But they would be there 6 nights. Get a life. 6 times a week.
And catching fish?
Catching fish, but you knew when they'd caught fish because when you packed up, you'd obviously all go to the car park, see how everyone's doing. They wouldn't stop. They'd be off. But if they hadn't caught, they'd hang about to see what's been out. And of course, they'd be on it the next day.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be able. I wouldn't get up there for another week. So I soon learned that lesson. If I'd caught, I made the mistake of telling them, and that they'd hammer that swim.
I mean, fishing like that as well, it would probably be beneficial to fish 2 days on the bounce as well. But obviously, you do. I mean,
I couldn't do all that sleeping in the car park malarkey. I don't.
But I mean, you're relying on learning quickly, aren't you? And just getting straight on there, and
exactly. And you'd walk around, and it was a proper angling lake. You could, there wasn't a great mega lot of fish in there, but obviously you had those jewels, and you could walk around and get spots going just exactly how I like to fish.
Yeah.
And it was two rods, which is love 2 rods, and I think if you could get every angler to fish for a year, days only 2 rods, it would vastly improve their fishing.
I fish with 2 rods a lot.
Yeah,
and
because there's no room for error.
The amount of people that think they just need to stick the 3rd rod out for the sake of it. Yeah. It's like
exactly. You fish 2 rods, both those rods are nailed on, and it just stands you in good stead. There's no that'll do. Well, I'll sort that out later.
Did fishing Harrow really get you more into like a day fishing mindset after that as well?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah,
absolutely, because you just switched on all the time. Switched on. There's no sitting back in your bivvy. The old bait and weight game. You was on edge all the time.
Quite a varying lake as well in terms of features. You got the top end of the lake, which has got a lot of islands, and then the open area. So did you find yourself having to sort of?
Well, that's it.
Very mobile on there.
You just learnt so much from that lake because, as you say, it's like 3 lakes in one. You had the big shallow bay, you had the islands, and then the big wide end, which was like some long range fishing, and it was something for everyone there.
Beautiful. I've said it before on the show. Absolutely stunning lake. I kick myself a little bit actually because a few of my friends have got tickets on there now. A lot of them actually. Yeah. And I didn't push hard enough to get a ticket a few years ago on there. Tabor, we got some pictures of what Brett's caught out of Harrow. We got
selected a couple.
Yeah, we got the donor fish, haven't we, on here? Which was
that fish there. That's the one they wound up using for the Harrow Sutton crosses.
Yeah.
So what happened was they decided they wanted to cross a Harrow fish with a Sutton fish, and Simon Scott came up because there's always a close season on there. It's just magical having a close season. So you can imagine by June the 15th, waiting for Harrow to open, it was just, and you'd have the draw.
It was your main water, was it?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to go anywhere else. So Simon Scott came up, and they wanted a male fish to take away to get the milk to cross with a Sutton fish. And it wound up being that fish, not at this occasion, but that fish got caught on the opening day, and they took it away, and that was the one they used to cross with the Sutton fish.
Yeah, Simon told us about that story. I mean, it's quite a well-known story, that as well, isn't it?
Yeah. But that's a typical looking Harrow fish, just
lightly scaled,
big chunk, big tail, solid. Yeah, phenomenal fish.
Yeah. And how long did it go on for after that? I mean, that fish really has left a bit of a legacy on that lake, hasn't it, for sure?
It's left a legacy on a lot of lakes. I mean, they're marching on wherever they put them.
All those Harrow fish now, all those lakes that we're fishing now are Harrow fishing. It's all down to that one fish.
Yeah, and obviously the Sutton fish.
Yeah. But You don't often see an individual fish that you can look at and think that's been responsible for
a great strain.
For a great strain.
And some lakes they're absolutely flying.
Yeah.
Like 40-pounders already.
Yeah. You've done a trip with Damo as well, didn't you? And caught this fish. God, we're looking at
that. Was just just a phenomenal fish, and just not a typical Harrow fish. And I took Damien up there as a guest. I think it was late November. So what you got is it's days only, but by that time you had to be off about 10 o'clock, I think. So you'd get a few hours of darkness. So me and Damo was up there, and just before dark, I had a fish crash out, long way in front of me. It was a big fish. I thought, oh, I've got to whack a bait out of there, fuck it. So again, fishing my two favourite little 10mm pop-ups, and I whacked this bait out of there. It's just one of those casts, and it just went bang on where whatever fish it was had come out. I just thought, that's on the money. So I put it down, and then, a couple of hours later, sitting there, me and Dame having a chat, had a bleep, and it's just roared off. And it was pretty non-eventful. Looking at the size of the fish, I've pumped it back, not a great deal happening. Damo's netted it. I went, that'll do. I've had a bite. When he shone the torch on it, and we was like, wow.
What is that?
Yeah. If I'd lost it, I'd never thought it was that big.
No.
I think it was 42 and a half, but just not a typical Harrow fish. I think it was a Ken Crow fish.
Mm.
But
how many of those were in there?
Not many at all. That was just, well, put it this way, no one recognised it.
Yeah.
That was a brand new 40. No one knew what fish that was, and then it topped up. I think it had come out about 3 years earlier, about £34.
Blimey.
But just
it's not just the size, is it? It's seeing something like that as well, which is so, like you say, so different compared to the rest of the stock.
Just unreal. And that, I think it may have came out maybe once or twice more.
Yeah.
And very, very strange. A lot of those big fish in Harrow just disappeared.
You didn't even find them.
They just died, settled on the bottom of the lake or whatever. But
strange that, isn't it?
When you think there was maybe about 10 40s, it just disappeared. I mean, they was getting on a bit, obviously.
What are your thoughts on Harrow now, then? Now it's become a night water.
Yeah, it changed over to nights. I was in disagreement with it, as was a lot of people, but they had a vote on it, and then they decided it was going to be nights, and I was just gutted. And obviously you had Tyson in there. Tyson was still one of the few remaining originals left in there. Probably the oldest fish in the Colne Valley, or one of them. And it was a fish, it was like my nemesis. There he is.
Oh my God.
I'd lost him once before.
Looking at a picture of Tyson now.
Yeah, I'd lost him once before, and he was just he was called Tyson for a reason.
Yeah, Lee told that story quite well, actually.
Yeah. So it went over to nights, and people were saying, "Oh, do nights, you'll catch Tyson." I thought, you know what? I don't want to. If I'm going to catch him, I'm going to carry on doing days. As silly as it sounds, it's just my own sort of morals and principles. If I'd caught him on a night, I'd feel like I'd cheated.
Yeah.
So I carried on fishing days, and the thing is, I never thought about catching him. Now and again, he'd crop up in your head, and I knew when he was roughly due out. And I'd been up there a few times, and he would come out, and I knew he was due out. So I took a mate of mine up there with me this day as a guest, Mark Boyle, and lovely Mark, top chef. We'd fish down on the lawn, nothing was happening, and we walked up right up the other end, up the bay, and there was fish up there. So right, let's get the gear. So we moved, went up there. I put Mark in a swim, and there was plenty of fish, because that's what I do. I'm a nice fella like that. He'll be going, "Now, you lying bastard." And then I fished the next swim round, and then we was only there a couple of hours. I've had the bite, so now I'm playing this fish. It's running me ragged, and he's down in the water with a net, and then I see it roll about 10 yards in front of the net, and I knew straight away what fish it was. And now I'm like, my bottle was going. I thought, I'm not going to tell him I know what fish it is, because he'll get all excited. But then he's seen it. He went, "Fuck me, mate, I think that's Tyson." I went, "Yeah, I know."
Don't say anything.
Yeah, so we netted it, and there he was. I think it was 42 and a half.
That's a great picture of it as well.
Yeah, bless him. I mean, as I say, good 50 years old.
Was it the biggest fish in the lake then when
Yeah.
you caught it?
Yeah.
Sorry, what size was it there?
42 and a half.
Yeah,
It was the only 40 left in there.
It went 50, didn't it?
No, never.
Nowhere near.
No. Someone had caught it at so-called 51. That fish was never bigger than 46, and it actually got caught. It actually came out 2 weeks after when it was meant to be 51, and it was 46. So I don't know what happened, but there's no way that was ever 50. That fish. It was.
The story got round well, didn't it? By the sounds of it,
it was always around at his prime. It was always 46,
but
always around 45, 46.
Yeah, but just a fantastic fish.
Yeah.
I said to you, didn't I? I was walking around Harrow a few years ago, and I think it was Sean Pashley hooked a fish in the lawn swim.
Yeah.
And we were watching him play it in for a while, and it snagged him up behind a bar. And I was with a mate, and he said, "Look, we need to get going." So we went begrudgingly because I would like to have seen Sean land this fish.
Yeah.
And then about 15 minutes later, I think Thomas or someone might have called and said it was Tyson. And I was like gutted. I'd love to have seen that fish.
The funny thing was, about 4 months later, I caught him again.
Did you? Right.
After I've been on there 13 years, not caught him. I know I lost him once, but yeah, and then I caught him twice in 2 months. In 4 months, and I didn't even bother weighing him. I just slipped him back.
It's a shame that though, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
You know.
But how mad's that?
Yeah, but it happens. Yeah. No, it was I heard as well. Did it? It used to do that a little bit. Those bigger fish on there just jam you up behind those gravel bars.
I'd have savage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Savage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your line would be going in there, and the fish would boil up 10, 15 yards further, left or right, with just these big flints and rocks, and your line would jam up behind, and you just have to try and get it up as high as
Scare the life
possible.
out of you.
But depending on the water level, some of those bars are only about a foot under the surface.
You wouldn't really get the fish over them then.
No, you had to be very, very careful where you fished.
What a water. Do you think it'd come back?
I'd like to think so. They need to sort the water quality out. They've stocked it with some pucker fish. They had the pick of the crop from the Harrow Sutton fish. So they've got a great strain of fish in there. It's just the River Colne flooded into it about 6 years ago, and just it was real shit water that went in there. There's been problems with algae blooms since, and the crayfish are in there. And there used to be crayfish in there, and it's just full of crayfish. And for some reason, the tench have exploded. Never used to catch a tench, never. And now they're like catching 10 in a weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't know where they come from.
And you don't like the crayfish? What you think that's influenced the fish weights a little bit in there?
No idea. You'd think they'd feed on them,
Yeah.
but obviously it's just competition for bait. You know, you go on there and you're getting crayed. But what I found is, the more bait you put out, the less chance you get of getting crayed. And also, if the carp are about, you don't get crayed. So if you're getting crayed, then move, because the carp ain't there.
That's a good bit of advice. That.
Yeah.
Brett.
Whenever I've had some good sessions up there, and I've never got crayed, because the fish are there.
Interesting. Well, we'll see anyway. So the River Ebro in Spain is been quite a big part of your life, hasn't it?
Yeah. So that came to the fore. Blimey, that must have been about 14 years ago. A good friend of mine, Nigel Blake from Essex, he'd bought an apartment off plan, and it'd been built. So he rang me up. He went, "Look, I'm going out to Mech," and I'd known about Mech obviously through the grapevine, and it's doing these lovely carp and just wild, rugged, and I thought, well, that's a bit of me. So I said, "Yeah, I'll come out there with you." So Nigel went with our mate Rob, and as soon as I got there, I just fell in love with it. Just mountains and the river, and it's a big river, just untamed. I thought, this I'd love to have a bit of this. And we fished that week. I'd caught my first experience of a big cat. I had a 165-pound cat, and it was so funny because we was trying to get it in a 42-inch landing net. And I've got it all on video. It's mad. And after about half an hour, it swam in the net and curled up. Well, we got it. But then all that did was give it the ump. But what I didn't realise is with catfish, if you've got an inch of a catfish tail hanging over a landing net, it just reverses out.
It reverses.
So we're there all jumping up and down like fucking yes. And as we're jumping up and down, this fish has just gone, whoop, swam back out the net. And now I've got it on for another half an hour.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was like Benny Hill trying to net it. But yeah, just crazy. But yeah, so I just fell in love with it. And
Was it the wildness of it, not
Yeah.
knowing what's in there?
just untamed, unspoilt, fish with no names. Yeah, it took me a year to find somewhere to buy. I thought I've got to buy somewhere here.
Really? What bait? What off the first few sessions?
There was
on
one.
that?
Yeah, I just feeling like just somewhere just agrees with you. It's just
Yeah.
and it has an effect on a lot of people to go there. But the trouble is, everyone's looking for a property there, so you don't get to hear about it. There's a little estate agents down. I got to know him quite well. I'd go in there. I'd go like, "Have you got anything?" And he'd just sort of shrug his shoulders and laugh. If you want to be 10 kilometres down the road, not a problem. But if you want to be in Mech, you just don't get the opportunities because they get snapped up by the locals or the guides. And what's left is the crap that no one else wants at the back of the town with no views. So yeah, it was about a year later I popped in out to see him and he went, "Oh, I've got this has come up." He said, "But it's not actually going to go up for about a month." I went, "Oh yeah, show me it." He showed me where it was, and it's where you want to be. On the other side of the bridge, the other side of the town, peaceful, lovely. And it was a finca, big finca with a plot of land. I said, "Can we go and have a look at it?" He went, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "What are you doing there?" He went, "Well, not a lot." I said, "Well, look, I'll treat you to lunch, shut the shop. We go down there," because the people were still living there. So we flown down there and it was this old couple there. And as soon as I saw where it was, I went, "Yep." He went, "What?" I said, "I'll have it." He said, "Well, how much do you want to offer them?" I said, "If they shake my hand now, I'll give them the asking price." And that's it. We done and dealt then.
Wow, that's the way to do
I was
business.
gonna say,
Well, the thing
no
is,
messing around.
if I didn't buy it there and then, it would have been snapped up.
Did you want it purely for your own pleasure or
Yeah.
to do?
No, just for me, just as a holiday home. And it was funny because my mates, I'd got to know mates there, Gary Allen, who'd been there. Gary's been there longer than anyone else. Always used to fish with John Wilson, went there. Gary was his guide.
Right, yeah.
And I got to know a couple of other people, and they was like gutted. They was like, "How the fuck have you brought that in front of us?" Like where it was, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's just pure fluke, just pure luck. It's just meant to be.
Yeah, no, it was. How much time do you spend down there?
I used to get out there like 4 or 5 times a year,
Mm.
but because of my job, I worked for myself. I'd got a very successful business, and I used to work 6 days a week. And working for yourself, you're still beholden to your customers. So as much as I would love to go out there for 2 or 3 weeks, you just can't do it.
Mm.
So I'd only have a week at a time, and then you'd come back, and I'd still have to work my nuts off to catch up with that. But just amazing.
It's a wild. Have we got a video there, Tobe, of Brett on the boat? Someone's having. Yeah.
Oh,
we got to show the audience that.
The one with Ev. I mean, this is in the winter. We sit out in the junction, and it's like, as I say, it's like sea fishing for carp, and it's mad. It's extreme would be putting it nicely.
Extreme in what sense?
In the conditions and the actual where you are. It's just like you've got to be a bit mad to be out there, but.
So how does a normal session on there sort of unfold? You know where the fish were, or you moving around with an echo sounder? So we're looking at a video here. This is
this
the
is-
Ebro. We was in t-shirts and sunglasses earlier, weren't we, mate?
Here's old Ev.
Ev's just putting on the old. We have a nice sausage
Look at
roll.
that culinary delights.
Oh yeah.
Getting to evening time now.
You get absolutely battered out there
It's got
sometimes.
up again. Uh-oh.
Yeah. I can
Hello.
It gets very stupid.
That's
out
your
there.
house on top of the hill.
Yeah, I wish.
We're getting right up.
So we're anchored up there in
One
about
extreme to
3.5
the other.
metres, fishing out
We've had
into
a
the
good day
Ebro,
today.
about
Just
40
gonna hang out
yards,
for a
and,
few
and you're in
more
8
hours,
metres, so you're fishing down a drop-off.
Just for the chance of hooking a river bass.
A river
Had
bus.
some
Yeah.
cracking fish today, haven't we, Ev? Had some crackers
It's
today.
galore.
Yeah,
5:30,
for another lovely day.
5:30 to 29.
Boys fishing over there, and had nothing.
So yeah, so you're just fishing the bottom of the drop-off, so
Yeah.
your line's going down the slope.
That's RTC hardcore
The
boys.
fish don't
sitting
know
out
you're there.
here. Ev. Here we go, he's away. Go on, son.
There you go.
That's brilliant.
Just wait for the 3 foot twitch.
Yeah.
Fucking blinding, mate.
It's like tuna fishing, that is, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see the attraction in
Hang on,
that.
boys.
Ah,
I've
it's
got
like-
a sausage.
It's like nothing else.
Yeah.
That was a belter, mate.
And do you find that as well on there, that the fish do come in, like, they come in bursts?
Oh, it can just all go off.
Yeah.
You can be sitting there for hours and hours, not a bite. All of a sudden, all the rods will go.
Yeah.
You would pick one rod up, then the other rod will go. They just move in and clear you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but what's also funny is you could have all 4 rods out the front of the boat, and you might get the 2 middle rods go off, and the left and right hand rods won't go off. It's like, well, how have they done that? Do you know what I mean? But it's mad. I just love it.
But you like those big features there and stuff as well, do you? Is that what you?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously I fish from the bank. I love fishing from the boat now because it just gives you so much more scope.
Yeah.
Because it's not happening. You just up anchor, go and bait some spots like I would do on a lake.
Yeah.
Bait some spots, up anchor, and you can go and find the fish. Go up the Segre and look for them.
So similar in some respects. You're just using a boat rather than
Yeah, it's a floating.
creeping around the side of a lake.
floating swim.
Yeah.
I've got a picture I've been dying to bring up.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring a bit of carp fishing into catfishing. I think you probably know what picture this is going to be.
Yeah, I think so. This would be nice.
Yeah.
What on earth has happened there?
Right. So this
I just saw that. I was like, hang on.
So we're go
this
on, Brett.
basically sums up. I mean, the catfish are they're just prehistoric. I mean, a friend of mine caught this. It was just under £200, but he'd caught it on 2 halibut pellets. So we've landed it, opened it up. There's a £20 common in its throat.
That is amazing, isn't it?
So while it's digesting that, it's carried on picking pellets up.
That's ridiculous.
Still
isn't
feeding.
it?
Still feeding. Greedy.
Yeah. But anyone that would wonder, I mean, when you look at the size of those things and the width of them, they can. So any carp really up to about 20 pounds in weight isn't safe.
Easily, a 20 pounder just slips straight down.
I
there.
think for everyone listening, we need to actually describe, because the picture is nuts.
So we're looking at the mouth of a catfish there, and just down its throat, we're looking at the end of a £20 common.
Just
common
the tail just
and
sticking out.
like Brett says, it's digesting it, isn't it?
Yeah, and
It's
carried
like
on,
a flipping anaconda, isn't
and
it?
carried on feeding.
Yeah.
Just picking up halibut pellets.
Greedy things, yeah.
How mad is that? I mean, I've caught when we've been out in the boat and you're getting pestered by cats. Once they get on you, you got to move really.
Yeah.
So
the carp don't like being around the cats then?
No,
Not if they're under £20 in weight.
Exactly. Would you hang about? So they move off the spot, and you can pick up the odd carp by fishing off the area. But yeah, I mean, when you see them like that, I mean, I've actually put maize on to stop getting bites from the cats, and you're still catching cats on maize.
Did you say you've seen a catfish actually attack a carp?
Yeah, and sometimes and especially when you're out there at night in the boat, and you hear one get nailed, it's like something.
You know when they've been nailed.
Oh, the noise it echoes down the valley. Those big cats.
What do they do? Come below the carp?
Yeah, I mean it's
What,
like a big vacuum. The mouth. When I open that mouth, it just acts a big vacuum, and then they'll just come up and hit it hard, and then you'll hear the tail slap, and it'll just be crack on the top, and you'll see them. You'll see the tails come up, crack.
So a bit like a great white then. It comes below it and just comes straight up, and
yeah.
But they got some speed then.
Oh yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. But as I say, once you hook them, it's just like, what do? Do you play it out for the challenge, or do you just pull for a break?
Yeah, I mean, I know people. I know friends that go out there for the catfish, and they love it out there. So
it's ridiculous.
But there's some big carp in there as well. But I guess they're not easy to find at times.
No, I mean there's the carp in. I mean mirrors, blimey. I've caught one mirror in 13 years, which is crazy. And there's not been another mirror caught with me like by my mates while I'm there.
Yeah.
But I caught a mirror. My first mirror, I was out there winter before last. Me and Tony Pocock, and it was funny because Tone's just got the bug for it now. He's lovely, Tone, and he's just like, mate, I'm going any trip. I'm there. I don't care. If I rang him up now, said Tone, 10 minutes, see you at standstill, he'd be right. I'm there. He's just got it. Some people get it, and other people it's just too much for them, too extreme, too much hard work.
I think I'd enjoy that.
But it is hard work. It's very, very hard work. But the rewards are nothing like catching a fish anywhere else.
The mirrors are the biggest ones, aren't they?
And yeah, so you got the mirrors. So yeah, I was out there with Tone, and it was after dark, and he's still waiting for a decent 30, and he's hooked this fish, and he's playing this fish, and it's running ragged. So as it's got close to the boat, I could see where the line's going in, and I saw the lobed have come out. I know it's a decent fish. I thought, I don't want to say anything. So as it's coming, he went, mate, that's a big fish. I went, yeah, I know, mate, take it easy. So we've netted it, and he's got this great big long common in the net. But literally, as we netted it, one of my other rods has gone. So I've grabbed my rod, and I'm playing this fish. Tone's got his head torch on. As it gets near to the net, it's a mirror. Now, I'm like, I've waited 13 years to catch a bloody mirror. But we've already got this big common in the net, so now we've got to do a double netting. But so we've done it, and we've Tone's netted it expertly, and now we've got the mirror and the carp Tone's been waiting for in the net. And honestly, the buzz, priceless.
Yeah.
You could not get that anywhere else. We was like a couple of little kids jumping up and down, shouting. It was just phenomenal.
It sounds special, that does, Brett. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be good to try that sort of fishing out. Like you say, it's not conventional carp fishing, but it sounds good. And you sent us a few pictures. The whole area looks great as well. So winter time, your favourite time on there, Brett?
It is, but do you know what? With winter there, it's so harsh, and it's feast or famine. My last trip, the January trips, Tony's sort of bags the January trips now. That's it. When I go in January, he's like, right, that's mine. And the November trip, I love the November trips, and Johnny Miller's bagged them, and woe betide anyone that tries to take them off John. I feel sorry for him, because he's like, John's been going a few times now, and he gets it. And
how long are these trips for?
A week.
Right.
A week. And what it is, because I work really hard. I work for myself. So when I go, that is my fishing time. I'm not there to take people out there and babysit them. So if someone comes with me, they got to keep up, and I'm relentless. And like John would, if you ever speak to John, he would say, like, I broke him the first time he went, but then I build him back up, and now he's just like buzzing. He gets it.
How do you break him then?
Because it's just harsh, and it's relentless, and things have got to be done right, and I can't have anything less than that, because it's my time.
Well, sorry, what type of things need to be right then?
Well, it's like setting the boat up and dropping the anchors and this and that. There's a whole lot to it when you're going out on the river, especially in winter, especially if the wind's up. You've got to be on ball, and it can be really hard out there, especially when the wind's up and the boat's blowing about everywhere. And but now John loves it. He's just got the buzz, and he's like, I love John a bit, see, because he's on it now.
And he specifically likes to go out there, in the winter as well, which we got some pictures, haven't we, of some winter sessions?
Yeah, I mean that. I've always wanted to go. I've always wanted to fish Christmas Day. I've never ever fished Christmas Day in my life, and I got this opportunity at a 3-day window. And
we're just looking at a picture here. Is this?
So I'd got this 3-day window. I had to be back Boxing Day for family stuff. So I'd gone out there the day before Christmas Eve, and my mate Ed, who's a guide there, and Ed didn't have any. He was off. So if I'm there on my own and Ed's not doing anything, I'd come and fish with me, Ed. We'd have catch up and have a chat and that. So we went out the first day. It's like didn't get above 0. It's freezing. Did not see the sun.
I can't imagine Spain being that cold.
Oh, honestly,
it's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's as cold as it is in England in winter there. So first day we blanked, didn't have anything.
Yeah.
We've gone out Christmas Eve day, sat there all morning, and then bang on 1 o'clock, one of my rods goes, and it's this fish. 42 and a half.
Mate, that thing's so
that's
long, isn't
very,
it?
very long and lean fish, isn't it? You said you always expected it to be bigger.
Well, that's it, and that's the mad thing with these river fish, because there's no fat on them. Like you land a 34 pounder and you're convinced it's a 40 pounder, and you'll weigh it about 3 times and like that can't be right, but it's because there's no fat on them. It's not like silk pigs in a lake where they're just sitting about. These fish are on the go non-stop, because obviously if they stop, there's a good chance they could get eaten. So they're wild fish.
Yeah.
So we've had that, and that was our only bite of the day. That was on Christmas Eve. But you can see there the freezing fog above us.
Feels so cold just looking at it.
We never saw the sun for 3 days.
And we say as anglers as well. I mean, freezing fog is a kiss of death, isn't it?
Yeah. And the thing is, that's where we are. There is right on the Ebro, and when they open the dam, there's a dam just up from that generates the electricity for the area. So when the dam switches on, then the water temperature comes up a bit, and the fish go on the feed. But they're not always there. I've sat out there for a week and blanked.
How quickly does it take for them to respond to that?
Pretty quickly. I think they're there all the time. It just needs a trigger.
It needs that extra temperature.
Just needs a trigger, because you can sit there and not think there was a fish in there. Next minute, there's fish showing all over the place.
Can we see the dam from there? Is the dam right down?
No, the dam's up off. As you see to the right there, that's the River Segre, and off to the left there is the Ebro, and that's where they join. That's the junction. And the Segre is a lot shallower than the Ebro. It's a lot colder, the water in the Segre, and where it joins the Ebro, the fish just drop off into that deeper water where it's a bit warmer. So we had that. That was the only bite of the day. So then we've gone out Christmas Day, we've had a bite. We've kept the bait going in. So hopefully we might be able to nick a bite, because Ed's never had a fish on Christmas Day.
Not many of us have we?
No.
Who goes fishing on Christmas Day?
Exactly. Well, that's it. Yeah. So
it's a wicked picture that.
So this is Christmas.
So we're looking at another picture now.
I like
Whitey Tours.
the effort with the tinsel's really nice.
Yeah. I like the mugs.
We've got mince pies and everything, and we've got our Whitey Tours cup.
Yeah.
And that harks back to when I used to write those articles for Carpfish, I used to call them Whitey Tours just as a piss take, really, because of all these holiday firms that were just ripping anglers off all over the place. I used to just call them Whitey Tours. Yeah. It was just for me and my mates, but it sort of got out of hand a bit, because people would ring up the tackle box asking how they can book a Whitey tour. Honestly, I was Jacko, and it'd be like, well, no, actually, it's just a tongue-in-cheek thing. So they said Ed's a guide there, and what I will say is, if anyone is thinking about going to fishing out there, first time, get a guide. Otherwise, you'll just run around like a blue-ass fly, chasing your tail. It's worth paying to have a guide, and Ed's probably the best guide there. Catfish-wise, he's had more 200 pounders than anyone else.
Has he? And
he's a very, very good carp angler. But yeah, I think his firm's called catfishtours.co.uk, and he does carp fishing and catfishing. But I see over the years, I've seen a lot of moody guiding firms, and anglers are just left to their own devices. And
it's a shame that, because you could waste a lot of money, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Obviously, paying to go out there, not really knowing where to fish.
And exactly. The assumption is as well with it is that there's so many catfish in there; they're easy to catch, and we don't need a guide in the first place.
What some of them do, they'll just fish the same swim for months on end. So all you're doing is baiting up for the next group that's coming out the following week.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And of course, sooner or later, that swim will fish, and it's like, well, never mind, boys. It ain't happening this week. Book up for next year. But whereas, like with people like Ed, if he's not catching, he's off. He's driving around the river. He's looking to move because he wants you to catch. But some of them are just ruthless. They just take your money, and it's like tough.
Easy money.
You wouldn't go back next year, would you?
No, that's what I mean. Exactly. But if you don't know any different. It's funny when you see what goes on out there.
So does Ed live near you as well then?
Ed lives just on it. He lives in the town on the other side of the bridge. But as you can see, I mean, that was just before lunchtime actually, and you could see the fog. You could cast a lead into it.
It's not very high, is it?
And that's how it just stayed all day. It's mad, and it's just a big cloud hangs over that junction, and you can drive down the road past my house. You're in bright sunshine. Yeah. And you look back up to the junction, it's just a big cloud there.
Yeah.
It is the maddest thing.
Why do you think that is then?
I don't know, it's just the mountains are bigger there. Maybe it's the mountains.
I find that with the mountains actually. If you're going into the Himalayas and stuff like that, if you're mornings are always clear, and then in the afternoon the cloud starts moving in. It's a similar sort of pattern to that, is it? Or, yeah. Yeah, weird though, isn't it? It can just go a few miles up the road and it's a different day.
If you just go back to that picture, Tobe.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So this is the mad thing.
So when that fog lifts a little bit, then Brett, do you find that makes that can trigger them off as well?
Do you know, it's so temperamental there. It's like just when you think you've got it sus, they prove you wrong. I've caught fish in thick fog. It's just there's no right. It's all about water temperature there. There's so many mitigating circumstances with fish in the river. Yeah, and it's not that often they all come together.
It's very dynamic. There's so much going on, isn't there?
It's very, very frustrating when, I've gone out in the morning, I've had 9 fish, like had a mental day's fishing in the morning, had a red letter day, gone back the next morning, thinking everything's exactly the same spot, couldn't buy a bite.
Yeah.
And then you take the water temperature and it's dropped 1 degree. Yeah. And they just shut up. It's just mad. But yeah, getting back to this picture, it was my left-hand rod. So I'd had that fish the day before on the left-hand rod at literally a couple of minutes past 1 o'clock. So now this is me and Ed sitting there, and then so we've had our mince pies and a cup of tea, and literally bang on 1 o'clock the left-hand rod goes again. So
same time.
Yeah, same time. Just weird. So I stopped playing this fish. At first I thought it might be a cat because it really started playing up and staying deep. So and of course this time of year the water's a lot clearer. So as I'm getting this fish to the boat, I can see down, and then we can see it's this great big common. And now it's around. Now the old legs are going, and the old bottle starts to go, and. So I had it on for ages, and we finally got it up, and Ed was like, "Fucking hell, mate, this is a good fish." Nets it, and then you'll see what it was.
What have we got?
And that was it. My first 50-pound Ebro carp on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that's a great picture.
Yeah, wicked picture.
Yeah.
I like the hat as well.
But the fish was like brand new. There's not a mark on that fish.
You can see that, can't you?
The fins, the scales, it like just been
Like
born.
you said, the leanness
I
of
was going to say, it's quite lean again, even though it's massive.
But like you say, with all those catfish and stuff in there as well, and you know, the flow of everything.
They're looking over their shoulder all their life.
They are, aren't they? They haven't got time to get fat, have they?
No, they're on the guard.
sprinters.
Well, that's it, and that's why I was saying about that spot I'm fishing. I'm fishing down a drop-off because I want the lines laying as tight to the bottom as possible, because they'll come along and they're wild fish. If something spooks them, they're off. They ain't hanging about.
Yeah, of course.
And even like with the boat, you've got to place things down, because if you drop anything, it resonates through the hole and into the water, and that can spook the fish. As anal as it sounds, it can do that. And like with this, I mean, even the mouth on that fish was just like it was brilliant white, had the curtains in it and everything. It was like it'd probably never been caught before.
I mean, really? So you think an awful lot of those fish haven't been caught?
Yeah, I mean, you'll get resident fish, but you also get nomadic fish that are just passing through, and that's it.
It's the opposite to English fishing. They're harder to catch, maybe, you know, on an English water. They're more cautious because they're aware of anglers and anglers' lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
On this river, it's completely the opposite, isn't it? It's nature that puts them on their guard.
That's
more.
right. They're wild fish, and that's what does it for me. It's the whole adventure. I couldn't sit on a lake now in a bivvy, on a lake in France, just looking at the water for a week. But that suits a lot of people because they just there, chill out, and that's it. Whereas I'll go there and I'll just run myself into the ground and get beat up by the weather and stuff. But when you catch fish like that, the buzz is just phenomenal. When you look at where you're fishing, to think you've had that out of there.
Yeah, that's a vista, that is, isn't it?
You can't. You know, I couldn't even take an 80-pound silk pig for that. I'd rather catch that.
And it's interesting. Your fishing is taking a gradual evolution, hasn't it, as well? Because it's gone from day fishing at Harrow, where you've got used to that sort of thing, and then and then onto the Ebro and stuff.
Yeah, and it's in certain ways it's very similar because it's still that adventure.
Yeah,
like day fishing, you're on guard all the time, and you're up and you're moving and you're busy. And it's the same with the river. It's not happening. You're up in anchor, and I don't do all my fishing from the boat. It's just certain times of the year I like to get in the boat, but it's great to actually get on the bank and do some fishing from the bank, especially in the summer up the River Segre.
Yeah. That's just a great picture. That it's great to see people catching on Christmas Day as well.
Oh, it was a proper Colesberg moment.
Yeah,
you just couldn't. Yeah, and so Ed hadn't caught. He's never caught a fish on Christmas Day either. So I've had that, and then about an hour later I had about 32. So the fish are obviously starting to get on the munch because we've been baiting it quite heavy. And then I lost one a little while after that. So I've had like 3 bites, and I just want Ed to get a bite. I really want him to catch a fish. And then just before dark, he had like 25-pounder, and that was his Christmas Day fish.
Yeah,
so we was like buzzing, and we're like, do you know what?
Properly made up.
That's it now. Let's pack up, go in the pub and have a nice bit of dinner. and that was it. It was just the most perfect Christmas day. You couldn't have scripted it.
Did you get a Christmas dinner in Spain?
Yeah,
Yeah, proper one,
Yeah,
yeah.
Ed done he cooked a beef Wellington.
Oh wow!
Oh.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah,
Like 2 Christmases. You have King's
Yeah.
Day as well, don't you, in Spain?
yeah,
So you get 2 chances.
yeah. He cooked a lovely beef Wellington, and
good.
he ain't a bad cook, bless him.
It's not bad that time, is
No,
it?
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Any day.
Yeah, sometimes he'll do a chicken curry, and he'll ring me up when I'm out there fishing. He'll go, "I've got a chicken curry here. Do you want some?" I'll go, "Yeah, right." And he'll jump in his boat and he'll bring it out to me on the boat.
What a legend!
And I'll be sitting out there in the middle of the river, chicken curry and rice and a cold beer.
Oh mate,
Brilliant.
we all need a few more friends like that. I think,
Oh,
don't we?
We
yeah,
do.
proper. I love him to bits.
You sent us some pictures actually this week of some fish that you've been catching. Yeah. So where have you
Yeah,
been fishing?
I just obviously I've got a current situation going on with my health, so it's been hard for me to get out. It's luckily Tony Pocock, bless him, he's more than looked after me, and he's sorted me out a swim that I can just. A lot of the swims on Brooklands you can park in anyway, but it's handy that I can do that. And this was a couple of days ago. I went down there and managed to sneak a couple of fish out of this lovely old dark fish.
You do like those dark ones, Brett, don't you? We'll look at another
it's a
dark
magical
fish.
little fish.
It could almost come out of that Leany Lake, really. that
Yeah,
one,
I've been
couldn't it?
fishing for a while, so it was nice to get a bend in the rod, and it's done literally a couple of bites in the last 2 weeks on there, so it was nice to go down and have a couple.
So do you tend to fish this particular swim, or do you just it's
No, I'd
handy?
only fished it once before,
Yeah.
but it suits me. It's a close-in one, just an underarm flick, and
Yeah, we got another one there, which is
Yeah,
which
this-
is a little bit different, isn't it? We're looking at
that's typical. That's probably the smallest fish in the lake.
Yeah.
When you think the amount of 40s in there,
yeah.
and I've caught that. But yeah, listen, a bite's a bite, and I was just happy to get a bend in the rod.
I think it's awesome that you're turning up on these sort of venues and just catching a few fish during the day like that. It's obviously very good angling, isn't it?
Well, it could be the Whitey luck again. I don't know. I'll take anything.
Yeah. Obviously, you're saying about health and stuff at the moment, but you're trying to get out fishing as much as you can at the moment between treatment.
Yeah, basically. It's hard.
Yeah. But that's what fishing's all about, isn't it?
I got diagnosed with cancer 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Big blow.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'm now. Fortunately, guys are on it. I'm having chemo. I've had a few setbacks, but it's.
Yeah, well, you're like I say, we haven't spoke to each other for long, but you're a very, very positive guy, aren't you? I mean, it's like these illnesses can really get people down.
Well,
can't
the
they?
funny
And,
thing was, I went and got a second opinion.
yeah,
This private doctor, £300 for an hour. That's the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
God.
so we're in the wrong job, aren't we?
So
we need to give this up, don't we?
So I sat down with him and I said, right, be honest with me, what's the life expectancy? He said, well, at the minute without treatment, 12 months. So I was like, fuck. I said, at least I know I've only got to order a season's worth of bait. He went, what? And he was,
This is what we mean.
I mean, that's just
Yeah.
admirable, really.
he
isn't
didn't
it?
have a clue what I was on about.
yeah.
So I thought, well, it is what it is, do you know what I mean?
I just have to say, the joke that you made, we were talking about the COVID vaccines before you come in, and that really tickled me. We were just saying,
Yeah,
obviously, the conspiracy theories about them being, whatever they might be, and you said, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it. I've gone and had my AstraZeneca jab, and everyone I know that's had the AstraZeneca has like spent the next 2 days
That's
in
it,
bed
that's
or
what we
moaning
were
or
saying.
whatever. So I've gone up there. I've had the AstraZeneca. Nothing. Not even a bruise. But then it's like, do you know what? That AstraZeneca's gone in there, giving it Billy Big Bogs. Like, yeah, AstraZeneca's here. And he's seen the morphine, the chemo, and everything else, and gone, fuck this mob. Boys, I'm just going to sit up here. Don't worry about me. You just crack on.
Yeah, it hasn't got. Yeah, It's
I'm
got
so-
no chance,
like,
has it?
I just, well, that's what I mean. I didn't I couldn't help but laugh.
No,
it
that
really
was brilliant.
But yeah, the
But you-
attitude, mate, that's admirable. Fair play.
It's been a pleasure having you on the
Thank you, sir.
podcast, and all the best with
Mate,
everything.
really
you.
enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to my invitation back out to Spain. So
Yeah.
don't you worry.
You
Yeah.
can go there with Kevin.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's right.
Sounds good.
Brett, thanks very much for coming on the show.
Cheers, gang.
Cheers.
mate.
Thanks.
Pleasure.